Yeah, this is case number 241 on the calendar in the matter of Rowland versus Bourne.
Thanks, Bert.
You're quite welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
How old are you, Miss Rowland?
19.
According to the complaint that I've read, you were house sitting for the defendant.
Correct.
Right after you graduated from high school, which was when?
June 16th of 2001.
That was just for a month or two?
It was until I left for college on August 18th.
According to your complaint, the defendant was out of town either on business or seeing family. She came back. She threw you out unceremoniously, and she kept some of your property. She says she has none of your property. She is counterclaiming. She says you trashed her house and caused her all kinds of other grief. So, how did you know Miss Bourne?
I had previously hung out with her daughter. You know, I go over to her house every once in a while.
And whose idea was it that you should house sit for her over the summer?
I believe that I had said something to her daughter, Shasta. My parents and I had an agreement that I would move out for the summer.
Why?
So that I could get used to living on my own before I went to college.
That is the biggest crock that I've heard in a long time. That's not what parents do. You move out and you go live someplace else so you get used to living on your own. Never heard of that. Go ahead. Let me hear the rest.
Diane and I had an agreement that I would stay at her house during the summer, pay the water bill, pay the rent, take care of the house, things like that. I moved in on June 17th. She had already been gone for a month. When I got to the home was absolutely thrashed. There was dirt everywhere. The kitchen, I have photos of the kitchen when I got there. My friend Sharon cleaned the kitchen. When I first got into the house, there was a barbecue in the kitchen area, like an outdoor grill. An oil drum was being used as a trash can in the middle of the kitchen. She had an area rug the size of the living room in the living room that was nailed to the hardwood floor. To clean it, I picked it up, took it up and cleaned underneath it. There was about half an inch of dirt, crackers, food, grime. It was absolutely filthy, and I don't live like that, so I cleaned it up. I scrubbed the house on my hands and knees, cleaned the bathroom.
Go ahead. So?
July 3rd of 2001, I had come home with a couple of my friends. We were going to watch a movie, and I saw two cars in the front yard. And the two witnesses she has over there, one of them was the lady in the black was sitting on the porch, along with another lady named Cheryl and Diane's younger daughter. I was very surprised to see them home because I didn't expect them to be home until the end of the summer. And I asked, hey, what's going on? And her daughter, 17-year-old daughter, came out and told me, well, you're indeed. And I said, well, why? And then Diane came out and started screaming obscenities at me, accusing me of vandalizing the house, stealing items that were in the house, things like that.
And she put you out?
She told me that I was to give her house key back, and I said I'm going to need to go get a police officer to come get my stuff with me because she wouldn't let me get any of my things.
Did you do that?
Yes, I did.
And did you get your stuff?
I got some of it. What I could load in my truck, I did when the police officer was there. He had told me that he had to go out on a fight call, so I needed to get what I could and leave. So all of my stuff that was left there was now in her possession.
Well, what do you claim you left there?
A computer, a snowboard, a computer desk, clothes, personal items, things I had purchased for the house, decorations.
I don't care what you did purchase for the house. A computer and a desk and a snowboard.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Just clothes and personal items.
You have a computer and desk?
The computer desk ended up being donated to a thrift store. It was not a complete desk. There was like a whole side of it was missing.
What about the computer that was on the computer
She
desk?
took the computer the day she had the civil standby.
Have any proof that you left the computer in the house?
I have my witness. She saw that the computer was there when I left, and when she came back the next day, it was gone.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Sharon Smith.
Tell me what you know about this computer.
I was in the house the day that Diane came home.
What were you doing in the house?
I was staying there with Sarah because I was going to be leaving July 8th to go to Washington for college.
So you were living in the house?
Yeah.
Who else was living in the house?
Sarah.
Who else?
That's it. It was just me and Sarah.
Anybody else staying over?
No.
Go ahead.
Well, when I told Diane I wanted to take my things and leave, she wouldn't let me. She said I had to leave my things there. I said, well, can I at least take my purse with me? And she said, yeah, but you have to let me search it first. So I said, okay, I have nothing to hide from you. So I opened my purse. I let her look in it. She saw there was nothing of hers in there, and I had left. I was scared. I didn't know what was going on.
Will we get to the computer, please?
Well, I saw the computer there when I left. I went back the next day with my mom and a police officer to get my things, and her computer desk was no longer there.
What about her snowboard?
I don't know. I assume she took it with her when she came and got a whole truckload of stuff.
How long were you in the house after July 3rd, the date that she left?
I ended up going back to Utah approximately a week or week and a half later.
Now, in the week or week and a half that you were still in the house, the plaintiff and her parents come to the house or attempt to contact you?
The plaintiff did not. Her parents came over the next day, told me the computer actually belonged to them. She went into hiding. I had to get a restraining order because the officer that did the civil standby told me that she was a tenant. She'd never paid a dime. She'd rented rooms to her friends. She had turned my house from just a family home to a party house / bordello.
Now, how do you know that?
Well, photographic evidence, Your Honor. I've got condoms on the front room bookshelf that this young woman was apparently advertising. My family room became their junk room. My daughter's room became their junk room. She shut the door on my daughter's pet rats. No food, no water. They were this big around. They were pet rats. My daughter loved animals, and they were huge. We came home, and they were like this big around. And the one is just hanging on, there's pictures, hanging on the side of the cage, no water. We gave it water.
Was it your arrangement for her to take care of
Yes,
these?
that was why she went. She was over there to feed the animals. There were cats that were so scared to come back to the house. When we left, we couldn't even catch them.
There
the
was
kittens
no agreement
became
to take care of
feral.
animals, Your Honor.
None?
whatsoever.
Did you know that there were animals in the house?
Yes, she did.
Her daughter came over, Shasta came over once and told me not to open her daughter's bedroom door because there was a rat loose in her daughter Sierra's room.
Did you feed the cat?
No, ma'am, there was no agreement for me to do so.
So what were you supposed to do there?
I was just going to live there and take care of the house, make sure that, nobody came in, I guess, and not...
Well, somebody did come in. You invited her.
I invited her, correct.
That was not part of your agreement.
There were several different. Excuse me.
That was not your agreement.
My agreement was for me to take care of the house.
But it wasn't your agreement for you to invite anybody else to stay with you.
She had told me, be careful who you let in the house. And I trust Sharon. She was in a situation...
You are a very, very good fibber, Miss Rowan. Looks like a major mess.
But I
don't know what it looks like. I want to see which photograph that she has. She says she has a photograph of what the house looked like before. Let me see.
Sharon took these pictures before she cleaned the kitchen. These dishes and stuff was in the kitchen before we got there. This is Sharon.
Sharon,
Yeah.
when did you clean the kitchen?
The first day I was there.
Which was when, Sharon?
That would have been...
That would have been immediately, right?
Well,
when she
Sarah,
moved in.
Sarah was there before I was. Sarah
You mean
was there
Sarah
a
was
couple
living
of
like
days.
a pig before you came?
She was in the process of moving her things in for a couple of days, and she asked me if I'd come over and help her clean the house. And I did, and after I cleaned the house, that's when Sarah told me that I could live with her.
Uh-huh. I don't know where your computer is. Haven't a clue. Don't know where your snowboard is. I haven't a clue. She doesn't have it. You breached your agreement with her. Your agreement with her is that you were supposed to stay there and take care of the house, take care of the animals. You did none of that. The house looks pretty trash to me, and in addition, you brought in at least one other tenant without her permission. So who knows where your computer is. You have a counterclaim. I want to see what you claim are damages because you were a tenant in this apartment. So tell me what your out-of-pocket damages were.
My first loss was the loss of my vehicle. I left California to find work. In that part of California, there's just nothing.
Come on.
So I had to leave, take time from my job to come home to deal with that.
And how did that have
All
to
the
do-
money that I saved to pay for my car, I ended up losing my car.
All right.
Because I had to quit my
a little
job.
too far removed. Come on. You're not going to
come
get a
home
new car.
because I
What
had-
else? Let's go.
I lost a bunch of my personal possessions.
Like what?
Family heirlooms. They broke a chair in my living room. They scratched the hardwood floor.
You're a tenant. I want to know what your out-of-pocket is.
The doors that she ripped
Well, show
the
me
locks
what you
of.
had to pay to the landlord.
I don't have that.
Well, then I can't help you. You have a cleaning bill. I mean, you show me a lot of damage.
The
a lot of
cleaning bill
schmutz
would have
there.
been my own sweat and blood.
Your Honor,
Listen.
I have a statement from the carpet cleaner regarding the
I'm
carpet.
not reading a statement. I don't know who those professional carpet cleaners were. And quite frankly, I don't believe a lot of what you say.
Okay.
You understand that? I don't believe a lot of what you say. It's too convenient.
I also have an incident report from the police officer
That says-
stating that there was no vandalism in the house.
Oh, I'd like to see that. That I'd like to see.
I wonder if I could see that too.
No,
Your
it
Honor.
just says, listen to me, I'm going to tell you what it says.
Okay.
Everything appears to be code for. Residence is just dirty with clothes. Well, that's pretty much what I saw. Doesn't have to do with vandalism, just being a slob. Place looked like a pig pen.
Your
That's
Honor.
pretty much what she says, because she said she didn't have a professional anybody in there. All she did was, through the sweat of her own body, cleaned up after you. What else? You want to show me a police report?
No, it's just the contract on my car. My down payment on my car that I lost. $5,000.
First of all, you're supposed to use good judgment. You have an 18-year-old that you let move into your house who just graduated from high school. Not necessarily good judgment.
It's not one of my finer moments.
Well, I wouldn't do it. Would you do that?
No.
Well, I didn't have any reason to think that she would screw me over.
Except that she's a high school kid.
I found out later she called me and said her parents had kicked her out because she'd stayed out one night partying, and they were very strict.
That's incorrect, Your Honor.
That is
I don't know what the
grossly
reason
incorrect.
is that you weren't staying with your parents. It certainly wasn't the cock and bull story that you gave me at the beginning of this
She
case.
had stolen
that they
their
wanted
credit
to see
card,
if you
Your
could manage
Honor.
on your own. Listen, you're not entitled to a thing. I don't know where your computer is. I don't know where your snowboard is. I don't know where any of these things are after a year. Madam, you are entitled to nothing as a result of your bad judgment. If you had to clean up after her, that's what you did. The loss of your car is not her fault. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She turned my home into a bordello.
She lived in filth, and I cleaned it up.
She had several overnight guests, males, multitudes of them.
Her family's white trash.
She was a tramp, and she was a troublemaker and a thief.
Don't associate with white trash.
Now, this is case number 440 on the calendar in the matter of Sullivan versus Sims. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Sullivan, I assume this is your daughter, is
Yes.
that right? And this is your son-in-law?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, your daughter and son-in-law purchased a car that was for your benefit. That was back in
March.
March of last year.
Correct.
And the agreement was that you would make a monthly payment that would cover the car payment and insurance
Correct.
to your daughter and son-in-law.
Correct.
And you would have the car, and when the car was paid off, I assume it would be yours. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So far correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You did have the car for a period of time. Then you had an accident with the car in a
Correct.
parking lot. And you called your son-in-law.
Yes.
According to you, you put a note on the car.
Yes.
Did you put the note on the other car, or did your son-in-law?
I put it on the car that I hit, right
Yes.
next to me.
On the note was,
My name, phone number, and that I worked next door at Randall's, and the phone number.
you believe he took the note off the car you
They-
hit.
yes.
Because they never contacted you.
Correct.
And there was damage to that car.
Yes.
You didn't do that, did you, Mr. Sims?
No, ma'am.
And shortly thereafter, Mr. Sims repossessed the car and sold it. You are suing, according to your complaint, for the whole value of the car,
Correct.
which you're not entitled to. So let's be realistic. Let's say you're suing for the payments that you made on the car. April, May, June, July, and August, if you made the 5 months worth of payments.
And I did not miss a payment.
Okay.
I was
And
told...
that's your statement. I did not miss a payment.
And-
That was our agreement, and he had no right to take the car back,
Right.
and therefore I want the payments. How much were your payments each month?
Well, he told me $200 when we signed the original agreement. $200 a month. That included insurance.
How much was the insurance on the car, Mr. Sims?
$62.96.
Mr. Sims, how much did you pay for the car?
I purchased the car for $1,500. I put $600 of the repairs to the car because I purchased it damaged
Okay, and you sold it when?
about 2 weeks ago.
And how much did you sell it for?
$3,200.
And how much did you pay to fix it as a result of the accident that your mother-in-law had?
What she did, she bent the door around to the fender,
Just tell me how much you paid to fix it.
$150, but it didn't fix it correctly. It just made the door open and close. It did not repair the car back to the original condition.
Say nothing. Yet. Say nothing
Okay.
yet.
All right.
So let's say you spent $2,200 on the car.
Correct.
You sold it for $3,200, giving you $1,000 profit, and your mother-in-law gave you $137 a month times 5 equals $685.35. So you got that too.
Correct.
So this is going to take care of your counterclaim, because you're suing her for $660 for miscellaneous damages incurred in relation to the car. That's your counterclaim. That's out, because you had no loss, sir. You have a profit.
All right, I understand.
You have a profit. So you suffered no damage. So your counterclaim is dismissed. Now let's talk about what your mother-in-law wants.
Okay. I need to speak.
Now I'm ready.
He works at a body shop. He didn't pay nothing to have that car fixed.
I don't care whether he did or whether
Okay.
he didn't.
And he
I don't-
raised
that
the
has nothing-
payments.
That has nothing to do with you.
He raised my payments from
To what?
$200 to $230 a month.
When did he
Before
change?
I made the first payment, I'm sorry,
Just a second.
April.
Okay,
April
230.
11th. He raised it.
Is that right, sir?
Well,
Is that right or wrong? She has proof. I'm sure she has checks
here.
or whatever. Is that
yeah, we
correct?
agreed on the raise of the payment. It was due to the insurance increase.
So we have 230 less 62.96, 167.04 times $835.20. I'm going to give you 1 minute, Mr. Sims, to explain to me why you don't think that you owe your mother-in-law $835.20.
We had an agreement that she was going to purchase the car, like you said. But also in that agreement, no one was supposed to drive the car. Well, she was letting the other brother-in-law drive the car, which I had a witness see him in the car. Also, she took the car to Chicago against my wishes, taking it out of town. Our original agreement was that the car was mine. I purchased the car, put it in my name, I put the insurance in my name, I registered it in my name, and I told her, here's the car, this is what we're going to do. You pay the car to me each month, and then when 13 months are over, I'll sign it over to you, do whatever you like. But in the time that you're driving the vehicle, the liability is on me with my insurance and everything covering me. I don't want anyone driving it. Drive it, do your errands, run back and forth to work. But I don't want the car leaving the state. I don't want the car going anywhere. Just keep it here in town.
Mrs. Sims, I read that. Read your defense, sir. However, your problem is you didn't take it back from her then.
Okay, you're right.
You took it back from her when she had an accident in the parking lot.
I didn't take it back from her. What she did, she was letting people drive the car. Then when she damaged the car, then when she damaged the vehicle, she brought the car to me and handed me the keys and wanted me to fix the vehicle. The daughter-in-law got upset with me and mad because I wouldn't file an insurance claim against my own policy to make me pay the increase over the next 3 years. And so they started feuding all over again. That's when I talked with her and I asked her, hey, we need to do something different here. Can you go get a loan for the balance due on the car? I can sign the car to you and we can quit all this fighting and carrying on and be done with it. You can do what you like. She agreed to go get her own loan.
Stop playing with the papers.
Sorry.
She went out, tried 2 or 3 different banks. No one would loan her the money because of her past history and her credit. It's so horrible she couldn't get it. So then she comes to me and says, you know what, I'm going to save the money for 6 weeks. Can you hold the car 6 weeks and I'll pay you in full? 4 weeks go by. She calls my wife and says, I got $20 to my name. I can't pay it. I said, okay, what are we going to do now? She said, well, I'm just going to take you to court and sue you for my interest. I said, well, how about I give you all your money back? I offered to give her every penny she paid, including the insurance. She agreed to that too. Then on Sunday morning, she calls and tells me, no, she don't want to do that either.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't know whether or not you took off the note, if there was a note placed on the other car in the parking lot. If you did, that was a foul thing to do.
And later today,
the vet told us there was no way the cat could have broken its leg in 5 places just from tossing off the side. She had to have been pretty much slammed to the ground to have broken it the way it did.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Phyllis Sullivan says son-in-law Chip Sims repossessed her car for absolutely no reason. Chip says Phyllis has been irresponsible with the vehicle.
What you should have done, Miss Sullivan, is take him up on his offer. Because if he was willing to give you all the money that you paid in the car, including the insurance you should have paid, should have accepted it. Because from me, you're only going to get the money that you paid on the car itself, less the insurance.
Your Honor.
Yeah, what?
The car, I mean, this was a business contract. I couldn't get a loan because I filed bankruptcy.
Show me the business contract.
Right?
Show me the contract. Show me what it says. Show me
Can
the
I say
contract.
something? Shh. Nobody drove that car. His so-called character witness has a warrant for his arrest for hitting a police officer.
Would you please stop talking and hand me the contract?
I'm sorry.
You don't have one.
There's the contract. This is my thing from bankruptcy. And
no, listen to me. I asked you for the contract.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Did you ever have a conversation with your mother about somebody else driving the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. Tell me when.
Less than a month into the deal with the car.
Tell me what the conversation was.
I called her to let her know that we had spoken to a fellow family member who saw someone else driving the car. When I asked her about it, she proceeded to cry and say, I would never do something like that. You told me you didn't want anyone driving the car. I wouldn't do that. I would never hurt you or Chip like that. That's our agreement. I wouldn't let someone drive the car.
Okay. I have to make a determination as to what your damages are, Miss Sullivan.
Okay.
And by the way, Mr. Sims, I don't know whether or not you took off the note, if there was a note placed on the other car in the parking lot. If you did, that was a foul thing to do. Otherwise, I cannot understand why somebody would not have contacted you to have their car fixed. It's not reasonable that if you come out and you see somebody left their name and number and said, I hit your car,
Right.
that they would not contact that person unless the note was taken off the car. In any event, I believe that you're entitled to, based upon this agreement, you're entitled to your money back, because this agreement says that if at any time I default upon my payments, Ronald has the right to take the car back, and I will forfeit any payments already made. She never defaulted on her payments. So you had no right to take her car back.
I didn't take the car back. She brought the car to me.
I don't believe that's true. And I believe that you made a profit. That's just shit, quiet. I believe that you made a profit on the car. You don't have to make a really handsome profit. So instead of making $1,838, you're only going to make $1,000 worth of profit.
$1,800 because she'd already filed this suit once, which I had to hire an attorney to fight her the first time, that she never showed up to court. I had
Well,
to
I don't
fight
have
her.
that. Listen to me,
have the
Mr.
dismissal.
Sims. Mr. Sims.
I've got the original court
I
date
don't
and a
have listen
dismissal
to-
from it.
Pay careful attention to me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have that as part of a counterclaim.
Right.
In any event, what I'm telling you is you have the right, if you sold the car, you made a profit. Your profit was in excess of $1,000.
Well,
Because-
I kept the car for 5 months waiting to solve this case, waiting to go to court, which we had our court date. She didn't appear.
What difference does it make, sir? What difference does it make as far as the profit that you made?
Right, exactly.
She put in $835.20. That's less the insurance over a 5-month period, and she's entitled to get it back under your contract. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just want them out of my life. I just want to go on about my own life and let her live her life, let me live mine.
He couldn't claim it on his insurance because he's got too many other insurance claims going on.
This isn't the first time in my life my mother's disappointed me.
My son-in-law, Chip, told me that I'm putting the stake in the family.
We warned her before she filed this suit to let her know she would never see me and she would never see her grandson again. She continued to do it, and I'm going to stand by my word.
I'm very hurt. I'm going to miss my daughter and my grandson.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kaufman versus Holland. Step forward, please.
Former bartender Nikki Kaufman is suing her former friend, 24-year-old cook Timothy Hullett, for trashing her car while he was drunk. Timothy says Nikki is also responsible because she was the one who served him the booze.
All right, I'm going to give you the short version of what I gather happened here. I want you to listen carefully, and unless there is any major discrepancy, we're just going to move on. You work in a bar as a bartender. You know the defendant. He must have been a friend of yours because he came to the bar that evening driving your car. He was in the bar all evening. When the bar closed or when they decided to leave, he got into some difficulty. He went outside, got into your car, and trashed your car. I don't care how he trashed your car. He trashed your car. So far, is that correct, Mr. Hullett?
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Hullett acknowledges that he trashed your car. And he acknowledges he trashed your car because he was drunk. Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
His defense is that you, as the bartender, served him too much liquor. And therefore, it is your fault that he got into the car and trashed it. What do you do for a living?
I'm a cook in a 5-star restaurant.
Why would you want to blame somebody else for your stupidity?
I'm not necessarily blaming anybody, Your Honor. I'm just saying I do take responsibility for the actions that I've done.
Perfect!
I'm just saying, though, also I think that my judgment would have been clearer if I was not that intoxicated.
I absolutely agree with you, Mr. Hullett. So a 24-year-old man who works as a chef in a 5-star restaurant should know when they've had their limit.
Sometimes,
You're
yes,
not
Your Honor.
7. What do you mean sometimes?
Sometimes it
There's
just
nothing
goes.
genetically wrong with you, is there?
Not that I know of.
Can I see the cost of repair for your car, please, Ms. Kaufman? What kind of car do you have?
A 97 Chevy Malibu.
Have any insurance?
Yes, I do.
What kind of deductible do you have?
500.
Mr. Hullett owes you $500. That's your deductible?
Yes.
That's fair, isn't it, Mr. Hullett?
Sounds reasonable.
Sounds reasonable to me, too. Thank you. That's all.
Now, this is case number 356 on the calendar in the matter of Koch versus Ringenberg, Buban, Fagan. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Which one of you gentlemen is Brad? All right. So what I want you to do is stand right over there. That's it. Now, Miss Koch, according to what I read, you had a friend, Kathy. Is Kathy here? You are his mother.
Correct.
Brad's mother. Kathy was visiting you at your house, and she at some point wanted to go home and check on her kids. So you said she could borrow your car to do that, as long as she brought it right back. Correct?
Correct.
Kathy goes home, and she decides to let her son drive the car back to your house. So far, that's what you did. You let your son drive the car back to her house.
To pick up my car,
I don't care what it was.
not to check on my kids. To get my car so I could have it back at her house.
Whatever. You let your son drive the car back to her house. Is that right?
To follow me, to have my car.
Whatever. He could have followed your car. He could have been driving your car.
He did.
So who was driving her car?
He did. I was in my car. He drove her car, followed me back to her
Did you
house.
understand what I said? Try to pay attention. I said you could have let him be the driver of your car and you drove her car back. But you didn't do that. You let him drive her car. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, at some point, he decides to stop off and pick up a couple of friends. Is that right, Brad?
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
And there goes the trouble. Because by the time your car was returned to you, much later on, it was totally undrivable. Had blown a transmission, and some other stuff happened to the car. There's where we are. And I want you gentlemen now to be very, very brief, because I've read all of your answers. Not to worry, Ms. Koch, we're going to get to you. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe it's necessary, and maybe it won't be necessary.
Okay.
Because, you know, my credo is keep it simple, stupid. That's what my father always said to me, so I'm going to try to keep this as simple for myself as possible. In 30 seconds or less, you tell me how her car ended up in the junk pile.
I went and picked him up, and we went back to her house.
Went back to whose house?
Connie's house.
All right, so you went back to her house, but you had stopped off to pick up these two gentlemen.
Yes, Your Honor.
Where was your mother?
She was at a home.
Your mother was home. That's interesting. I thought you said she was in her car. All right, but we'll let that pass for a moment. So you stop off to pick up the two guys. And what happens after you pick up the two guys?
We went to Connie's house, and I took the keys inside.
Look at me.
I took the keys inside, and I put it on the table right in front of her.
And then what were you going to do?
And I went back outside, and we were stuck there.
What do you mean we were stuck there? What did that mean, you were stuck there?
We didn't have a ride nowhere.
Well, didn't you realize that once you drove the car back to Connie's house, you weren't going to have a ride anywhere, unless, of course, your mother, who says she was following you.
I thought my mother was there, but she went home.
But she
by the
went
time I
home.
got
She
there.
was just driving around. Maybe she had to mail a letter or something. Yeah. Go ahead. So now you're standing outside and you have no ride home. What's next?
I took...
Look at me.
Matt went inside.
Matt, raise your hand. Matt went inside.
And he said he was going to ask for the keys.
Who did you ask for the keys?
Connie, but she was sleeping, so I just...
Oh, now, so you asked her, but she was sleeping.
Yeah.
Now, I want you to explain to me how you... Please don't laugh at him. Bird's going to laugh at him. So you were going to ask Connie for the keys, and you asked her for the keys, but she was sleeping.
Yes.
So what did you do? Did you do telepathy?
I just grabbed them and went outside.
So you had no permission to have the car. Is that right? Now, when you got outside, what did you say to your two friends?
Let's go to Polk City and...
Excuse me?
I asked Brad to go drop me and Luke off in Polk City and go back out there, but...
But what?
We ended up staying at my house for a while. And
Who?
us three.
How long?
An hour, maybe.
And then what happened?
Me and Luke drove around for a little bit, got some gas, and the car stalled.
Okay, where'd you leave him?
My house with a few other friends.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, let's understand this. You had no permission to have the car, is that right? Is that right?
Yes.
And you had no permission to be in the car, is that right? After you had dropped it off?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what about you?
No.
No what?
No, I didn't have permission to be in the car.
Who was driving?
Matt.
Did you ever drive the car?
No, Your Honor.
Now, did Matt tell you that he didn't have permission to have the car?
He told me we did have permission.
He did?
Yes.
What did he say to you?
Well, me and Brad were sitting outside of Connie's house, and he went inside and got the keys and comes out and says that, you know, let's go. And he didn't say that he had permission, but, you know, he said, let's go. And
Oh, so he didn't say he had permission. Is that right?
yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You knew. Now, tell me about your car. What happened to it? They just say it stopped.
It was 70 miles away when the transmission blew from my home.
70 miles?
And then came back home and I filed a police report. And they...
Just tell me what the damage was to the car. That's my question.
No, my damages are $3,490. There's a towing charge, there's attorney fees, and unused insurance, but...
I just want to see what the damage was to the car.
The matter is all I need.
How old are you?
16.
You're 16. Oh, how old are you?
17.
7. And you?
16.
16. Oh, this makes my life so much easier.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You listen to me.
Her keys were put on that table.
No, listen
Somebody
to me.
came in that house.
Oh, yeah.
Those keys came back
Madam,
on
you
that
are
counter.
a liar.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Connie Koch says teenagers Brad Buban, Matt Regensburg, and Luke Fagan drove her car without permission. Connie says the boys damaged the transmission, then abandoned it 70 miles away.
You know how I like to keep things simple? I want you to move over there. I'd like you to step up here. Your name is Kathy what?
Boobin.
Step up here. Let her stand next to her prize. Your son says that you didn't follow him to her house so that you could give him a ride back. And I believe him because that's what they say. Why didn't you do that?
I just picked up my car so I could leave Connie's when I felt when I was wanting to go home.
Well, just 1 second, madam. She didn't give your son permission to drive her car.
She gave both of us.
No, she did not. No, she did not.
Back.
Excuse me?
Someone's got to drive my car, which is me.
No, not you, which is him. Don't you get it? That's what I said to you before. If somebody's going to drive a car that doesn't belong to them, it's going to be you, not him. So he drives your car, and you drive her car.
That's probably how it should have been done.
Right. Because but for that, this whole thing wouldn't have happened. Right? Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, everybody knows 16-year-old boys and cars don't mix. They're fools. And when they have friends, they're bigger fools. Now, you should have anticipated that. You didn't. Therefore, I am not holding these two boys' parents responsible. I'm holding you responsible for the whole thing. Because I'm holding him responsible for the whole thing. You want to go after them? Sue him. If you came before me, you'd be totally unsuccessful. But for your actions, you're the adult. He never would have had his hands on the keys to her car. You got it? Now, if the boys had gone into her house and you had nothing to do with that, and each one of the boys told me the same story, he got the keys, he drove the car with them, he was also a passenger who knew what was going on, and you had nothing to do with it, all three of you would be equally responsible. But in this case, you were the one who controlled the keys to that car. If you had done the right thing and said, follow me back, I'm taking Connie's car, you drive my car, when we get to Connie's house, going inside, I'll be right out. You put Connie's keys someplace where Connie can get her keys if she's sleeping, you come outside, you say, now drive me home.
That's what happened.
No, it's not what happened. You were not driving Connie's car.
He put him on the table.
You listen to me. You were not driving Connie's car back to her house. He was. He should have been driving your car, not Connie's car. You want to give a 16-year-old permission to drive a car and to pick up friends? Let it be your car, not your friend's car. She was doing you a service. Judgment for the plaintiff against this defendant only in the amount of $3,000. And if you think you can prove a case against the parents of these two boys, you go ahead and try. You will be unsuccessful here because you had the ability, you're the adult, you had the ability to ensure that her car got home safely. And you chose not to do that. These parents didn't. They had no idea what was going on. Only you did.
Her keys were left on her
Only
counter.
you did. You had the ability to see to it that her car was returned to her house
It was
safely.
returned in her driveway.
No, it wasn't.
And her keys were put on that table.
No, listen
Somebody
to me.
came in that house.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
took those
you
keys
can tell
off
me,
that table.
Put
Your
that down.
Honor.
You can tell me anything that you like, and I'm telling you, you had the responsibility to see
And
to
I
it
did
that
it.
yours.
And it came back. Those keys came back
Madam,
on
you
that
are
counter.
a liar. Your
I'm not
son
lying.
says
There's
you
nothing to lie
are a
about.
liar. I believe you're a liar. Your son just told me you're a liar. He just told me that you never followed him back to her house to drive him home because they were there stranded. And you said, I followed him back there, which is a lot of baloney. So you're a liar, you're responsible. Judgment for the plaintiff against this defendant only, $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm not a liar.
All I know is my police report says that Kathy admitted to knowing that they were taking the vehicle.
It put a strain on Connie because she was without a car.
I'm still without a vehicle.
I carted her around. I tried to be very helpful.
I've gotten nowhere. They were said, please don't press charges. We'll get it fixed. We'll get it fixed.
I was a good neighbor. She's been a good neighbor. It's what neighbors are supposed to do.
This is case number 428 on the calendar in the matter of Beaster versus Barber. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Mr. Beaster, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you by kicking you repeatedly around the head and body. The defendant says she was merely trying, she acknowledges that she did kick you, but she says she was trying to protect her boyfriend from you. So you tell me about this incident. When did it happen?
Happened on August 22nd on a Thursday night.
Where were you?
I was in my apartment with my wife and our 18-month-old little girl.
Okay.
What happened was we were trying to sleep, and we heard a lot of noise. We didn't know where. It was outside somewhere. So I had my wife, I said, just go up, get up out of bed and see what's going on.
That's your first problem. Why did you send your wife out to find out what the problem was?
Because my daughter, she likes to be with me, when we go to bed, and she only wants her dad, and she was holding on to me.
Your 18-month-old daughter was sleeping in the bed with the two of you? Before we get to the rest of this case, let me give you some advice. That's a big mistake. Big time. You go to sleep, baby goes to sleep, baby's crib, baby's bed, baby's whatever. 18-month-old baby doesn't sleep with you. It's very cute, it's very sweet. When they're 9 and 10, it's not so cute anymore. Do you understand?
You got that right.
Right? Right?
You got that right.
Right. And then they, in the middle of the night, you find you got an 8-year-old, you got a 7-year-old, you got a 5-year-old, they're all trying to clamor in your bed. So what used to be cute when you had one isn't so cute anymore when you got 3 of them, and you end up sleeping on the floor or your wife would end up sleeping on the floor under your scenario. Just a word of friendly advice. Okay, so next time this ever happens, you're not going to send your wife to the window so that you don't disturb your 18-month-old daughter. You're going to get up and go to the window, right?
That's correct.
I love it. Okay, so you send your wife out and she looks at the window. Step up, please. Okay, next time you give him a good boot in the back with your foot and you say, you get up and go see what's making all the noise. Anyway, you got up and you looked outside. What did you see?
Well, I saw a bunch of 19, 20-year-olds, I'm not sure how old they were, playing around outside on the swing set. It was a playground. They were sliding on the
How far away is
slide.
the swing set from the playground from where you live?
About 10 feet away.
What floor are you on?
We're on the 2nd floor.
So there are a group of people fooling around outside.
Yes.
Talking loudly.
Screaming.
Screaming? What were they screaming?
I have no idea what they're screaming about.
Okay. And then what happened?
We all went to the window. This is in one of our other bedrooms, and they were just making a lot of noise, screaming. They're in a tree. I don't know what they're doing
They were
in a tree.
in a tree?
They were in a tree, all of them. And I proceeded to say, be quiet or I'm calling the police, because it was very
Or
loud.
did you say be quiet? Say shut up or I'm calling the police.
I did say be quiet, I'm calling the police, but that's what I did say. I did not swear, I did not say anything.
Okay.
Then I heard the gentleman over here yell back, go ahead and call the police, F you.
You mean this gentleman that looks like butter would melt in his mouth? Over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
This one? Okay, go ahead.
And then I told my wife, go ahead and call the police, and I did proceed to go outside.
Well, that was your second mistake, right?
Yeah, I agree. I should not have done that. And
Right. That was your second mistake. What happened when you went outside?
the gentleman there, jumped out of the tree, and he ran up to me. And he pretty much said, what are you doing out here? Oh, just because you're bigger? Go ahead and hit me. I will sue you. And then she got involved, the defendant, and she started swearing and cussing at me.
Do you have a police report?
I sure do.
I'd like to see the police report, please. Okay, swearing, cussing. What happened next?
And then the defendant here proceeded to put her hand on my chest, swore at me, and said, F you, get back in your apartment. And I swiped her hand. She put it right here. I swiped her hand away, and I said, don't you ever touch me again. He got upset, and
Because you had swiped her hand away, whatever.
Yes. But she had her hand. She put her hand on me. And
I understand that.
Okay. She then proceeded to scream. She got right in my face, about this far apart, and she was yelling and screaming at me again.
How many
swearing.
people were out there at that time? You?
Well, what happened is four
two
people.
of them.
The two of them. The other two took off. Nobody else was out there. When I first came out there, the other two took off. So, and then what happened is then she put her hand in front of my face, and I did swipe her hand away, and that's when he came to me, and he pushed me. And then from there, Your Honor, I defended myself.
So what'd you do?
We started to grapple, and then he pretty much said, "Oh, you're a big guy and you can't put me down." So I knew the police.
You got him down. You got him down on the ground.
Yes. Then I put him on the ground. He ripped my shirt. Then I ripped his shirt. And when I had him on the ground, I did not have him in a chokehold. I didn't throw any punches. No punches were thrown. she proceeded to go ahead and start kicking me in the head.
Okay. Tell me what injuries you suffered when she kicked you in the head.
At the immediate time, I did not know what injuries I suffered, but I know after the second kick that I had blood coming out of my nose, and it was splattering even after the last couple of times. And I do have pictures here.
Can I see it, please?
Yes. And this is the viewpoint from our apartment. I wiped off some of the blood too, Your Honor, so it's not all there.
You have any other reports from the police statements?
Do
you?
I don't.
I'd like to see them, please.
Well, I do got our own statements from everybody that had statements involved. My wife
I have
and them.
that.
I'd like to see
I
all the
also have the
statements.
police report that the police wrote out.
I'd like to see it. Around in a tree.
Right. We did go outside.
I have this.
Oh.
I have this. I don't need this. I'm talking about other statements.
Oh, okay. That is all I have. We were outside and we were laughing and having a good time.
It's too late.
Right. And
it's too late.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Were you smoking regular cigarette or you smoking some funny cigarette?
No, we were smoking regular cigarettes.
But it was after you smoked the cigarette that you ended up in the tree, is that right?
Yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brian Beester says he was injured when neighbor Courtney Barber kicked him in the head. Courtney says she was defending her boyfriend.
Go ahead.
We went up in the tree and we heard Mr. Beester yell out of his house, "Shut the f up." He didn't politely say anything about us being quiet. And we all looked at each other and we realized, okay, we're too loud, we need to go inside. And at that point, Mike had yelled back to him whatever he had said about call the cops. If he said F whatever, I don't remember that. And then as we were coming out of the tree, which was immediately after that, he had came out and was standing underneath the tree at that point. So running up to him.
He has to get dressed, put on his shoes because he was in bed. I don't know what the weather's like, whether he sleeps in the buff or he sleeps in pajamas. Either walk downstairs, take the elevator downstairs and come out.
There were 4 of us in the tree.
You shouldn't have been in a tree.
Absolutely.
Right?
I understand that, yes.
And what were you doing kicking him in the head?
Well, what had happened was that he was at the base of the tree when all of us had been down. Mike did not run at him or anything. And at that point, he told us, I'm in the military, you guys are being too loud, and there's no reason for you to be outside. And there was cursing back and forth. There was yelling back and forth.
Well, just a second. But that's what he said to you. I'm in the military?
Yes.
There's no reason for you, so why didn't somebody say to him, I'm sorry, we shouldn't have been making so much noise, we're leaving?
We did say, I did absolutely say, I am sorry, we're going inside.
You said that?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, I did.
Then you tell me how the pushing and shoving match started between the two of them.
Because he had called Mike a loser. He was in the military, he was better than us, basically, was absolutely yelling at us, and we were shocked. We didn't want any fight to happen. We were not about to
I don't
yell with this man
understand how he
and argue
started,
with
how he
him.
was getting kicked in the head. You want to get to that point?
Yes.
So far, I'm just hearing words.
Okay. When he said that I had put my hand on his chest and that he smacked it down, that was true. I had put my hand on it, in his face, not on his chest.
For what?
Because he was towering over me and he was screaming
Why didn't you just
over
leave?
me.
Why didn't you just leave?
We were walking away.
How
and
could you just
he
walk
called me
away?
he called me and that's when Mike got angry at the fact that he called me a.
So, what happened?
So Mike said, there's no reason to call anybody a.
Is that what he
Don't
said?
call
Just
my
like
girlfriend
that?
a.
Just like that?
Yes.
Just like that?
Yes.
Nice and calm?
Don't call my girlfriend a, he said.
Keep going.
And then they started wrestling after cursing. They grabbed onto each other and they were throwing each other around. And nothing was even being yelled at that point by Mike saying hit me or any of that. Nothing
So they're
was said
tussling
like that.
around. I still don't understand how
Right.
he got all these injuries.
He got Mike on the ground and was on top of him, and he says in his police report that he had him in a wrestling move.
Okay, so he got him on the
in
ground.
some kind of headlock. I could only see the bottom half of Mike, and the rest of him was underneath Brian.
Yeah.
And at that point, I got scared. He was on top of him, and I didn't know if Mike couldn't breathe or what was going
Why don't
on.
you ask him, Mike, can you breathe?
I was screaming at him, get off of him, leave him alone,
Why don't you
stop.
ask him, Mike, can you breathe? Instead of get off him, well, how about Mike, can you breathe? I still don't understand how he got all these injuries.
I was barefoot when I kicked him.
What were you doing barefoot?
Because it was summer. It was nice out. I just walked out of my apartment to have a cigarette.
So you climbed up the tree barefooted?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I did.
How did he get all these marks on him?
I kicked him once in the face, and he screamed out. And the second time I kicked him, he let Mike go.
Where had you been prior? Stand up, you. Where had you been prior to going out and tree hopping that evening?
Inside my apartment.
What about the 3 other people who were with you? Were they in your apartment earlier that evening?
Yes.
What were they doing in your apartment earlier that evening?
Hanging out with us.
Do you 2 live together?
Yes, all 3 of us do.
This young lady too?
Yes.
Okay, what do you do for a living?
I'm a desk clerk at a hotel.
And you?
Rough carpenter.
And you?
Customer service rep.
Did everybody just want to go out for a cigarette or just you?
Everybody did.
Did you have the cigarette when you went outside?
Yes.
When did you get up into the tree?
After we were finished, we ended up going and playing around, running around.
Were you smoking regular cigarette or you smoking some funny cigarette?
No, we were smoking regular cigarettes.
Really? But it was after you smoked the cigarette that you ended up in the tree, is that right?
Yes.
You have medical bills?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to see them, please.
I also got a letter from my dentist stating, what had happened.
Any other bills that you have?
No, that's the only one I have, Your Honor.
Mr. Beaster, I'm going to make the following observation to you, sir. You're a grown man with a wife and a child, and you should have known better than to go outside once your wife called the police.
Yes.
You were hot because they disturbed your family, and the reaction when you said whatever you said to them irritated you. Otherwise, you would not have gone outside. That was a mistake. You should have acted in a more mature fashion. That doesn't in any way suggest that you are without fault. I'm not sure whether I believe. I was a smoker for a long time, and if I went outside to have a cigarette, I didn't end up in a tree.
Right.
Which suggests to me that you must have been feeling pretty good after that cigarette, because you're 3 people with responsible jobs. 3 people with responsible jobs usually don't have the reaction of hopping up into a tree after they have a smoke. I didn't see any indication here in the police report that the police officer smelled alcohol on your breath, so I might assume it was something else. In any event, you had absolutely no basis to cause the injuries to him that you did. Your actions precipitated the evening's events. If it wasn't for you, the whole thing wouldn't have started, all of you. So you're going to pay for his dental work. His dental work so far was $972. Those are the only bills I have. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You may step out.
He was there waiting for us to fight as soon as he got out of the tree, and that was
Self-defense.
No, that's a lie. That is a straight-out lie. He's the one that came out of the tree, ran up to me and said, go ahead, hit me. I'll sue you. You're bigger than me. I don't care.
Now, this is case number 264 on the calendar in the matter of Cochran versus Marsh. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Cochran, according to your complaint, you and the defendant had dated for a period of time. You became ill and were hospitalized for a period of 2 weeks.
Yes. Yeah.
When was that, sir?
August 30th.
It is your claim, sir, that Miss Marsh, during the time you were hospitalized, took your bank card and withdrew some $1,700 from your bank card without your permission.
Yes, Your Honor.
When you started to complain to her about taking the money after you were released from the hospital, you then claimed she filed false stalking charges against you. You were arrested. You were forced to wear a bracelet, an ankle bracelet monitor, which you had to pay for.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in total, you are suing her for some $3,000 because you say that these charges were false.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So let's start with the hospitalization. What were you hospitalized for, Mr. Cochran?
My doctor said I was under a lot of stress from working a lot. I took a vacation to get away, but it didn't do no good.
So it was a psychiatric hospitalization.
It was behavioral medicine.
Were you self-admitted or did someone admit you?
They took me by ambulance.
From where?
From McDonald's, where the defendant works.
What happened? Did anything happen in
I
McDonald's?
felt kind of hot and felt like I was going to faint, and they said I fainted in front of the counter.
But there wasn't a scene or anything there.
No.
Now, how did you get custody of his bank card?
When Paul was admitted to the hospital, he had bills that needed to be paid. His father brought the bills to him at the hospital. He told me to come up. He needed me to take care of his finances. Paul, myself, and the psych tech had to go to security for Paul to release the bank card, the bank number, and details as to what I was supposed to do for him. Yes, Your Honor, I did withdraw the money, which I have proof of, to pay his bills. I have the bills that I paid for Mr. Cochran.
Can I see them, please?
These are the withdrawals. These are most of the bills that I could gather up. That's about like $900 and some worth. And I also have the bill where he said he loaned me $300, that I deposit $300 into his account.
Are you saying you paid $300 of your own bills out of his money?
Yes, I did.
You have a letter indicating that it was with his permission that you paid $300 worth of your bills?
No, I don't have a letter.
Then you can't pay $300 of your bills using his money.
Okay.
Ms. Marsh, because if Paul is there for a psychiatric hospitalization,
okay,
you don't do anything with regard to your problems. You only deal with his problems if you're being a friend.
I did that, and I replaced the $300.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this is what I was...
Okay.
There's it right here.
When did you replace the $300?
On 9/5/01.
What did he buy on his Zales account? A jewelry store?
He had bought a ring for me. He had bought like a necklace for me.
Did you buy gifts for her?
Yes, Your Honor, but I paid cash for him before we went on vacation to Orlando. There was only one bill that was paid while I was in the hospital, and that was $209.
Capital One bank credit card, $30, $83. Sprint cell phone?
That was her cell phone, Your Honor.
How do I know these are his bills?
Well, because we both had buddy phone bills. I have those.
You paid Sprint $125, and then you have another money order receipt that you paid Sprint $83.15.
For the 2 cell phones.
Well, why were you paying your bill from his account?
Because that's what he told me to do, Your Honor. He said...
No.
Because the phones were in his name.
No. But he's not using them. You had one phone. Who's doctor? A dentist?
I had to have a tooth extracted, and $70, yeah.
So why are you giving me this bill as a bill that you paid for him?
That was one that shouldn't have been in there, but okay.
So I got a Sprint bill that shouldn't have been in there? I got a jewelry store bill?
That's part of the loan, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Can I see how much money was taken out of your account?
It was showing there what was deposited and what was withdrawn the same day, the $300.
All right, now, Miss Marsh, when he got out of the hospital, what happened?
Paul wanted to continue dating, and I told him, I said, Paul, too much is going on. I just don't think it's going to work out between the two of us. And that's when Mr. Cochran started stalking, and...
He didn't say anything to you about the money that was taken out of his account?
No, ma'am. He never said anything about the money. This issue came up after the breakup.
Your Honor?
Yes.
The day I got home, I received a bank statement showing the withdrawals, and I called her and asked her why she withdrew the money from my account without my consent.
And what did she say?
And she hung up on me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have they advised you to be under psychiatric care?
No, Your Honor.
Have they advised you to be on medication?
No.
I'm not so sure about that, Mr. Cochran.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Paul Cochran Jr. says ex-girlfriend Odella Marsh stole money from his bank account while he was in the hospital. Paul says when he was released, Odella had him falsely arrested for stalking.
Now I want to hear about this bracelet. Why did you have to wear a bracelet, sir?
I went to the police station on the case on the bank account.
Okay.
I was arrested in the police department on a warrant by the LaPorte County Sheriff's Department in our town to say that I was stalking her, intimidating her, and invasion of privacy.
Were you doing that?
No, ma'am, I was not.
How was he doing that, Miss Marsh?
Mr. Cochran was phoning my house. He was creating problems on my job to where they fired him out from off of my job. And he came up to the job one day, just radical. He had, that day he had the gun with him. and I left, and I have witness, I went to the police department, and I just was filing.
Do you have the papers from the criminal court which ordered you to wear the monitoring bracelet?
Yes, I
And the
do.
certificate of
I have
disposition?
everything.
I have
I'd like to see the papers, please.
Okay,
I
here's
got the arrest warrant and everything.
here's everything contrary. Okay.
Is hers.
Thank you. What happened when you appeared in court on July 15th, 2002?
When I appeared in court on that day, his case was dismissed because the last incident where I had to use the panic button, of which I had a device that I carried in my car every day, which was ordered by the court, and also had a panic button that I was to keep on my persons at all times. Mr. Cochran was out by the apartment building, and the machine didn't go off. That stunned me because it's supposed to pick him up.
Your Honor.
Yes, go ahead.
On July, they said that there was several false police reports on the incident, so the prosecutor and the judge dismissed it because of false police reports, but the prosecutor checked in on it, which the monitor will pick up if I come in with 500 feet. On the day that she hit the panic button, I was not in the area. Somebody else was driving my car at the time to see if there was a false police report being made. That's why the case was dismissed. There was an undercover police officer driving the car.
Your Honor, I have a witness that knows how Paul reacted during this time.
May I speak, ma'am?
Sure. Who are you?
I'm a coworker of hers.
Go ahead.
I was the one who called 911 when he had the seizure in the lobby. I was the one who barred him permanently from our store because he had come in to talk to her after he had gotten out of the hospital.
What happened when he would come into the store?
He would try to talk to Odella, and she did not want to speak to him, and she had told him that before. And I simply said, things are not going well. Please leave her alone. If you cannot behave like a gentleman, you can no longer come in here.
Did he not behave like a gentleman when he came in?
He was loud, and he stayed for hours, would not allow her to do her job.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have friends that went there, you know, older guys. I've been going to that place ever since the day it opened up, and I never, ever harassed or anything. I just...
No. Listen to me, sir.
Yeah.
You were asked not to go back.
I didn't go back after the day I left the hospital.
Yes, he
I
did.
never returned.
Yes, he did. I asked him not to come back, and a week later he came back again, and Odella was there, and he wanted to talk to her, and she did not want to speak to him, and that is when I permanently barred him from the store.
So he came back one other time?
He came back another time after that.
When was that?
A week to 2 weeks after that. The first thing I did was call Odella, and I said, he does not look right. He had the same look he had the morning that he passed out and had the seizure on my floor. Please be careful.
Did you ever see him with a gun?
No, I did not. But I am the one who encouraged her to get the restraining order, and I am the one who had her make copies of the receipts.
The copies of the receipts are...
Apparently they're not doing any good, but...
They're not doing any good because they're all not his bills. You're going to get the money back that was taken from your ATM because she can't establish to my satisfaction that she used that money for your benefit.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
Yes.
You are not going to get back the money for having been forced to wear a bracelet because I believe this lady when she tells me that you were in her place of business when you were told that it's not a good idea for you to be there. And my sense is that you were frustrated. I don't know why, either because you still cared for the lady or because you were angry over the money or whatever reason, but that you didn't do the right thing, and she was afraid because you weren't exactly right. Are you on medication now, Mr.
No, Your
Cochran?
Honor.
You're not?
No.
Are you under any psychiatric care right now?
No, Your Honor.
Have they advised you to be under psychiatric care?
No, Your Honor.
Have they advised you to be on medication?
No.
I'm not so sure about that, Mr. Cochran. In any event, I'm going to get back the money from your ATM card, but not for the electronic bracelet, because that was probably necessary. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was filing false police reports and trying to intimidate me, making me look bad and her look good.
He became just a maniac.
I hope people that see this realize what women can do to you. You know, they can clean you out.
Hopefully this is over. Paul will move on with his life and just leave me alone.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Griffin versus Harris. Step forward, please.
Sales rep Aaron Griffin is suing his ex-girlfriend, nurse's aide Darlene Harris, for the return of his personal property and for having him falsely arrested. Darlene says Aaron broke into her apartment.
Mr. Griffin, you are suing the defendant, who was your former girlfriend, because you say she had you falsely arrested for burglarizing her property, when what you were actually trying to do was to get some of your stuff out because she had thrown you out. Ms. Harris said that you did, in fact, break in, and all the property that you wanted belonged to her. Is that right?
Right.
Were you living together?
I had my own home.
Is that right?
No, he was living in my house.
Did he also have his own home?
Well, yes.
What was your stuff doing in her apartment?
We had decided to spend 2 weeks together. After a few days, I recognized that she didn't have some items. She didn't have a television in the bedroom. She didn't have a living room set. So I decided to move some of my belongings from my home over to her residence.
What did you move over?
I brought over my living room set, a television.
Which consisted of what?
Consisted of a cherry oak table, 8 chairs. I also brought over a 19-inch television, a portable CD player, my clothing, some dishes, glasses, silverware, and also...
She didn't have any of that stuff?
She had some of it, but incomplete set.
She didn't have enough for you to eat off of for 2 weeks?
Well, I wanted to assist, and as I said...
You wanted to assist in what?
Assist her in some of the items that she didn't have.
And so after 2 weeks, it didn't work out. What happened, Mr. Griffin?
Well, we had planned to get married, and there was an issue in that I was still married and needed to get a divorce.
That's what Miss Harris said.
Yeah.
That's what Miss Harris said. She said when you brought the 8 chairs in, she didn't know you still had 8 chairs and a wife. Okay, so what happened?
She didn't apparently want to wait until I could get a divorce. So I decided that it was time for me to move out. That Monday morning, we had one final argument, and I left, but I did leave my belongings in the residence. The argument had gotten very bitter, and I decided that it was just best if I leave at that point.
That was smart.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Upon my return, I found that the defendant was not in her residence, and the door was locked. I did have she had given me a key when I first arrived from Texas.
But she took the key off the ring.
Right, unbeknownst to me.
How do you retrieve your articles?
Well, actually, I came in through the side window. I kind of pushed it up and climbed in.
But how do you get them? You brought over table, chairs, TVs, CDs. Where were you going to put all this stuff?
Well, I was going to place all of the items that I could carry into my vehicle.
What kind of vehicle do you have?
A Mercury Sable.
So one of those expandable Mercury Sables?
No, Your Honor. It's average size.
So you weren't planning too well?
I guess not, no.
So what happened? You crawl into the house and you open up a window, crawl into the house, and what happened next, sir?
I commenced to packing my clothing and my luggage, and the doorbell rang. And when the doorbell rang, I went to the door thinking it was the defendant.
It wasn't the defendant, it was the...
Police, right. It was the police upon me opening the door, but I thought it was the defendant.
Okay, what you thought. What you thought was irrelevant.
Okay.
It's okay, so you opened the door and it was the police. Go ahead.
Correct. They asked me what my name was. I said Aaron Griffin. They said, you're now under arrest, and they charged me with burglary. The defendant indicated that she didn't know me.
Really?
I had broken in.
Just a second. Did you tell the police you didn't know him?
No.
No, I never told. No. You told him to call his wife. She knows him. Very well. Were you there when she said she didn't know you?
They were actually leading me down the stairs of the porch. And she was standing in front of the house with the police.
Yes.
She said she didn't know me, that I had broken in.
That's pretty nasty if you did it.
I never said that. I never said that.
Okay. So let's talk about this report that you made to the police. Tell me about that.
I was coming up my street with my sister-in-law, and I saw his vehicle in my driveway. Shouldn't have been in my driveway because I had taken the key off the key ring. I was scared. We had an argument, you know, and I was...
So you called the police?
I called the police, and they met me at my house. They saw the window, and they arrested him.
They saw the window what?
It was broken.
How was it broken? The glass was broken?
Yes.
Did you break the glass?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Oh, you've left that out. You said you just pushed the window up a little bit. So you broke the window to get in.
Yes, I did.
That's not false arrest. You can't do that. It's not your house. You can't break a window to get in. So that takes care of your false arrest charge. Now you want all your furniture back.
Yes, I do.
Table, 8 chairs, 19-inch television, CD, dishes. You have all that stuff?
No, I do not.
Where is it?
I put it into the trash. I got rid of it.
Oh, no, Miss Harris, listen to me. You know how I caught him in fibs? That's a fib. You want to tell me what you did with his table and 8 chairs?
That's what I did with it.
Well,
I woke up one day and I was upset and I didn't want any reminder of him in my house, and I put that stuff out.
You put it out? Good.
Yes.
You pay for it. That was the wrong thing to do.
Well,
that was the wrong thing to do.
We were getting married and had a wife.
Listen to me. That was the wrong thing for you to do. You acted impulsively, and it was the wrong thing to do, so you have to pay for it.
Your Honor.
A, I don't believe that you just took it outside and threw it out. You may have given it to somebody.
Well, people in the neighborhood, I'm sure they came and took the stuff up off the curb.
Including
but
the
that's
television?
Exactly what,
including the television set?
Yes.
That's fine, then you pay for it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,250. But that's it, Mr. Griffin. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, this is case number 377 on the calendar in the matter of Liebert versus Bowen. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Are you ladies really involved in this case? You're not the actual plaintiff or defendant, so why don't you sit down, because this has to do with the gentleman. Mr. Liebert, is this your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that the defendant, who was a neighbor of yours, assaulted you. You want to be compensated for that assault. You lost wages, your medical bills, pain and suffering. Mr. Bowen says that no, it was you who attacked him, and he is counterclaiming. How long have you been neighbors?
Probably the last 3 years.
Right. I gather from the answer in the complaint in this case that there was some trouble after someone reported someone else to the Environmental Protection Agency. Now, who did that reporting?
I did, Your Honor.
Tell me why.
Because of the continuous problem of that we don't have no sewers on the street, so they have a salvage yard, or he stores cars, whatever, and when he does that, they take engines out and they salvage their parts in their driveway, and then they inadvertently wash it out, and it comes across my driveway. And then, if last year we had been in a drought,
You're talking about the oil and
the oil and all of his stuff that comes across my driveway is continuously muddy. So I asked the plaintiff.
Muddy from dirt or oil?
Oil, antifreeze, whatever comes out of a car when you salvage it.
So because you had this oil and sludge on your property, you reported him to the Environmental Protection Agency. Yes. And what happened as a result of that, Mr. Liebert?
Nothing, as far as I know. I have not received anything.
Did you get a ticket?
No.
Did somebody come out there and look at your property?
As far as I know, no.
Did you know about his complaint?
Yes, I have.
Well, how did you know about his complaint?
Well, I was washing the car one day, and the water ran to his driveway.
Right.
So that's the first time I heard his complaint about it.
Well, what did you do after he complained to you that all of this schmutz was ending up on his property? What did you do?
Well, I don't wash every day, so I didn't,
You didn't change the way you did business?
No, I was just washing the car only. And I don't do it maybe once a month.
He's not talking about washing cars. He's talking about salvaging cars.
I don't salvage cars.
You don't take cars apart?
No. If I do anything, it's in the garage. I do not have a permit.
I'm not sure whether I believe that. All right. Tell me what happened, Mr. Liebert.
Yes, ma'am. I was in the backyard, and I heard my dad yelling, and I come out to see what he was yelling about, and he said the neighbor swerved his car towards him when he was walking up the hill. And I came out there, and the neighbor, Mr. Bowen, come running up the hill, and we started yelling back and forth. And then once he started yelling back and forth, I told him I didn't want no problems, and he spit in my face. So I took him to the ground.
How did you do that?
Just wrestled him to the ground. Then I let him back up. He gets in my face again, and he goes and, motions to swing at me. I took him to the ground again, and I started hitting him. I hit him about 6 times.
So, according to you, he spit at you first.
Yes, ma'am.
You took him down to the ground.
Yes, ma'am.
He got up.
Yeah.
He again got in your face, which means he didn't hit you, but he got in your face yelling. You took him down again and started to hit him and hit him at least 6 times.
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happened?
Well, when the first time I took him down, my glasses slid off, and I never recovered them. Then I let him up again. I backed off. He tries kicking me again.
No, you didn't say he
Oh, he tries kicking me.
You didn't tell me that before,
No.
sir.
No,
All you
it's-
did was say he got in your face.
He tries kicking me. And I grab his foot, and he dropped to the ground again. I stood back. He picks up a rock and throws it at my father that was looking for my glasses.
So he threw a rock after you would hit him 6 times.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, and then
Where
I
did
went,
you hit him, by the way?
I don't know, probably maybe the face.
And when you hit him with your fist.
Yes, ma'am.
So then he got up and he threw a rock.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Meanwhile, I was looking for my glasses. He kept on throwing rocks. One bounce hit me in the shin, and then one hit me directly in the rib cage.
And that's the assault that you're talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like you to tell me your version of these events, Mr. Bowen.
Well, on the date of August 29th, I was coming home from work approximately about 4:30 p.m. And I know Mr. Liebert, he was walking up the road in the middle of the road. And the road in question is very narrow. There was nowhere for me to go either side of the road. And when I seen him, I was pretty close. As I observed him, he bent over and picked up what I thought to be a rock. So I didn't have no choice but to stop, so I hit my brakes, and as I stopped, Mr. Liebert come rushing up to my door with a rock in his hand. I didn't know what to do, so I started to open the door. He run up and pushed my door shut, and when he pushed it shut, he fell down. I then pushed my door open and got out. Still not knowing what to do, he had a rock in his hand, was getting up, so I picked me up a rock. I said, hey, what's the problem? I'm just got home from work. What is your problem? You know, and he'd been saying he's going to get me for all these things I've been turning him in for. And he's just, yeah, I'm tired of you. I'm tired of you yelling. I can't even tell you all what he was yelling at me. So we had our altercations. My sister and my
What do you mean you had your altercations? What does that mean?
we were arguing back and forth. So
Just
then
verbally?
After it was over, he walked back up on his property, continued to throw rocks. I said, I had enough of this. I said, Suze, which my sister was standing right there, I said, Suze, I will be back up to talk to you because we were leaving to go to Flintstone Park to take my girlfriend and her 2 kids on vacation to see Flintstones. So, I'm sorry, so I got down there, I walked back up the hill to talk to my sister. When I got back up there, Mr. Liebert come out, and as he come down, he was yelling at me what my problem was. He spit from about 10 or 15 feet away, hit me right in the face, so I took my glasses off, and I no sooner got my glasses off and he rushed me. He grabbed me by the arm, pushed me straight back down the hill and fell on top of me. At this point, there was nothing I could do. My arms were trapped underneath me. The only thing was left was my arm on the side. I thought he was getting in a lot of punches. As Ada and all the other witnesses said, he was on top of me and is kicking me in the head and the ribs. And well, at that point, my girlfriend come up, jumped on his back, started punching him in the back. Denise came up with the cell phone, started hitting him on the head. That inadvertently called my sister, which she heard all the commotion. She called the cops. That's how the cops got called. Then after that, they let me up. When I got up, Mr. Liebert was attempting to hit me with a rock, so I run out into the field to get away from him. And when I got out in the field, he chased me, pulled my shirt down over my head, and as I was trying to fight him, I fell down, and Miss Junior come running up and kicked me again in the ribs as I was on the ground. I got up, and the altercation pretty much ended after that.
Okay. Now, I understand from your complaint that you have a videotape of this incident. Is that right?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm in my yard. Hi, go.
That's you hitting him pretty good, sir.
Yes.
Crankhead, that's right. Crankhead. Hope you guys like to get sued.
That's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
And later today,
Your husband went to shoot some of your neighbor's dogs with a BB gun.
Before that, he came back into the house and got a real gun and pointed it at the neighbors.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mark Liebert says neighbor David Bowen assaulted him during an argument. David says Mark started the fight.
Let's start it from the top, please, Bird. Now, you're in the red shirt, is that right?
Yep.
All right, getting camcorded. Yep. Hi.
No.
Dude, you need to get off.
Who is that?
Whatever. Yeah.
Who is that?
His
A friend of my
sister's friend.
sister's.
That's you hitting him pretty good, sir.
Yes.
That's you
I got
punching
about
him
6
pretty
hits.
good.
I got about 6 hits on him.
Where's your gun at now, Dave?
See, I let him up. There's my glasses right there. The little girl's got my glasses again.
Who cares?
Okay.
There we go, watch.
Yeah, you yours. Stay off each other. Get out of my yard. You want to get out of my yard throwing rocks at my husband?
This ain't your yard.
Yeah, it is. That's my driveway. My driveway. My driveway. You're the incest. Quit your sister, y'all her. Crankhead. Crankhead. That's right. Crankhead. That's all you do is your brother's cousin and sister. Okay, I'm not talking about your family, you freaks. We're done when I say we're done. Whatever, freak. 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 Crankhead. You guys are crank. Whatever. Whatever. Yeah. Yeah, that's all right. I know where you live. That's all right. You're shaking right now, too. Whatever. Hope you guys like to get sued.
That's bad. That is bad. A lot of it was not necessary. Yes.
Absolutely right. Most of it was unnecessary.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
both acted very badly that day, don't you think so?
Yes, ma'am.
So why are you here? Why are you getting me involved in this? Why are you getting the judicial system involved in your bad behavior?
I would like to get my doctor bills paid for and my
I
glasses.
would like to be 5'6". God didn't do that for me. Why are you encumbering a judicial system with nonsense where you have two neighbors who each individually acted badly, whose wives and sisters and friends all acted inappropriately, instead of sitting down and saying, boy, I acted like a real jerk, and I don't want anybody to view a tape of my acting like an idiot. My wife acting, it was your wife who was
Yes,
videotaping that,
Yes.
acting like a lowlife, gutter snipe, speaking like a gangster. Why would I want to share that with anybody else? I want to keep that private because I'm so humiliated by the way my family behaved that day. Instead, you decide to come to court to sue for your medical bills. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Certain things we do in private.
Yes, ma'am.
We go to the bathroom in private. Please. We make love in private. Right? We have family squabbles in private. But if you behave badly and your family behaved badly, it's something that you don't want to expose to the rest of the world. You want to say it's a bad episode, I'm going to learn something from it, put a period at the end of it, right? Not expose myself and my family to worldwide scrutiny. You think that people looking at this tape think that you're a nice family?
No.
Think that she's a nice person?
No.
Listen to me, sir. You behave badly. And if you're going to have to live next to each other, then you have to do the right thing. So the first thing you have to do is not do anything on your property that interferes with the enjoyment that somebody else has of their property. And if you're washing cars on your property, and if because of the way the terrain is, it accumulates dirt and smudge and oil and other schmutz on his property, you have to find somewhere else to wash your cars.
Yes, Your Honor.
And if you're going to be a reasonable neighbor, that's what you do. And if you don't, and if you want to continue to have negative interactions with your neighbor so that you and your wife and your father act inappropriately, that's what's going to happen. Don't expect the justice system to support you. We have other more important things to do than support bad behavior. And if you have a problem, then what I suggest you do is you report him to the appropriate authorities, and eventually they will come out and they'll do whatever is necessary, but you don't act like a hooligan. So I say to both of you, both your cases are dismissed. Your claim and your counterclaim. Act like adults, responsible adults. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I pretty much got this whooped out of me.
We acted inappropriately.
I'm just going to have to do what I have to do, live with them.
We got to get along.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Casey versus Mogel, step forward, please.
Business owner Melissa Casey is suing her husband's former best friend, 25-year-old student Anthony Mogel, for trashing their home when they were on vacation. Melissa says Anthony threw a party and someone backed a truck into their pool.
Miss Casey, you and your husband were going away on vacation. You knew the defendant. He was a friend of either yours or your husband's or both, and he agreed to do some house sitting for you, take care of your house and your pets while you were away.
Correct.
You came home and you found that someone had backed up into your above-ground pool, causing it to leak, causing your whole backyard to become flooded and all the pumps and everything else destroyed. That happened on his watch.
Correct.
Is that right? Well, Mr. Mogel says that he did not destroy the pool and cause the damage. It was one of his guests that did that, and if you want to be compensated, you should get in touch with that guest. That's your defense. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, tell me what happened with the pool, sir.
I had threw a party on the 4th of July.
At your house?
At their residence.
Oh.
While they were away in Canada.
Now, just a second. You threw a party. Had you discussed that party with them before they left?
She said I could have a couple friends over.
Shh, please, please. Tell me about exactly what she said to you.
She said, as I was over at their house before they left.
Look at me in the eyes.
As I was over there at their house before they left, and we had agreed that I would watch the house, she said...
Look at me, look here.
She said, you could have a couple friends over, just take care of the house, and that's what I did, and I had a couple...
Now, just a second, just 1 second. What level did you achieve in school, sir?
I'm currently attending college.
As a college student, I will ask you this question. A couple means how many?
A couple friends could be anywhere from 2 to about 20.
Do you ever watch Jay Leno?
Yes.
Do you ever watch Jay Leno when he walks around asking America's youth questions like who was the first president, who's buried in Grant's tomb, who was Jimmy Carter? And you hear the moronic answers they give sometimes.
Yes.
That's what I thought of when you said a couple could mean anywhere from 2 to 20. A couple, like Noah's Ark, 2 by 2, couples, 2. That's 2. You can have a couple of friends over, that's 2. A few friends over can be more than 2. It could be 3, it could be 5. Some people might even say it could eke up to 20. But a couple is always 2. That's why when you call up and make a reservation, they say, are you going to be a couple, or is your party a party of more than a couple? Couple is 2. So how many people did you have at this July 4th party?
About 20, ma'am.
That's
20. 20 is more than a couple.
There were more than 20
Just a
people
second.
there.
Miss Casey, does it sound like you're losing? Don't interrupt. Say nothing to him.
Sorry.
Say nothing to him.
She wouldn't know
this
anyway
case,
so many
listen
people.
to me. This case is a foregone conclusion. I'm really just sporting with him.
Okay.
Do you understand? I'm sporting
Yes,
with him.
ma'am. I
I'm
apologize.
sporting with him because this case should never have reached a court when the damage was done to the property. Hopefully, before you even got home, he would have made arrangements with the other person who caused the damage. Probably if they backed into your pool with a truck because they had had too much to drink, he would have made arrangements with that person to take care of the problem. He didn't do that. And even after you said you have to pay for this, he said it's not my responsibility. And he forced you to take time off from your jobs, pursue this case in court. Right? It goes against my grain to just say, you were wrong, sir. Please try to accept responsibility. I have to have some fun with him because I think that that's what you would like. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, it would be boring for you just to stand there and have me say to him, you're absolutely wrong.
Right.
Right? I have to embarrass him a little bit. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
And if he doesn't understand it, I'm telling him right up front. And I'm not keeping it a secret.
He obviously don't understand.
Well, he obviously doesn't understand. He's going to have to be one of those kids that stays in college about 6, 7 years, maybe.
I'm currently on the honor roll in where I'm attending.
Really?
Yes.
Just tell me, Mr. Mogel, what happened on the date when this pool was damaged? You were, according to you, sleeping during this part of the party.
I was passed out around 2 a.m. and
Right.
the party was still going.
Go ahead.
And I
When you woke up, what'd you find?
a broken pool.
So why didn't you tell them that you would take care of it?
It wasn't my responsibility. Whoever backed into that pool needs to pay the damages.
Your Honor, I have pictures.
Bert, would you get the pictures?
Sure.
Who do you live with, sir?
With my brother.
Mm-hmm. That's a picture of the keg that him and his 20 friends drank.
Listen to me. He's a fool. He can educate himself from today till tomorrow. If he doesn't understand the fact that he had a responsibility, he took on the responsibility to house it and to pet sit, to ensure that your property was safe while you were there. That was his job. In exchange for having the pleasure of living in your house, use your pool, take a respite from wherever he was living, but live comfortably for a few days while you were away. In exchange for that, his job was to ensure the safety of your house, because if you wanted your place to be trashed, you could have just left it alone, and your dogs would have done their business like they did here with him watching the house, and maybe some strangers would have come in, thugs, vagrants would have come in and trashed your house, but you couldn't have done any worse, right?
Right.
Okay. So instead of him doing what he was supposed to do, he had a party with 20 friends. He passed out from drinking too much. All of his friends were probably in a similar state, and they trashed your property. Now, he doesn't think that that's his fault. And if he doesn't think that that's his fault, I want him to go back and take Graduate 101 watching Jay Leno say who's buried in Grant's tomb.
Your Honor,
okay, because he's a fool. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,013.45. Get him out of here, please.
Sure.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of D'Antuono versus Holdren. Step forward, please.
26-year-old hairstylist Stephanie D'Antuono is suing her ex-boyfriend, personal trainer Thaddeus Holdren, for an unpaid loan to buy a car. Thaddeus says the money didn't become a loan until they broke up.
Mr. D'Antuono, I've read your complaint. You claim a loan to the defendant, who was your live-in boyfriend for a period of time. Is that right?
Yes.
It was a loan for a car?
Correct.
And any other expenses?
Yes, for work that needed to be done on the car.
Mr. Holdren said there was never a loan. His position is that he played the role of house husband.
Yes.
That you have a child that he took care of, and he was a personal trainer. He gave up some time in order to be able to accommodate your schedule, and there was never talk of a loan until two of you separated. So when did you start to live together?
We began to live together only after I had given him the loan. It was in August.
Tell me about the loan.
Thaddeus approached me about loaning him some money for a car that he wanted to buy. I had the funds to help him out, and we discussed it in detail. That
Well, what were the details?
How he had to pay me back. There was no confusion as far as...
Well, no, don't tell me there was no confusion. Just tell me what the agreement was. You said it was very specific, so tell me the agreement.
I agreed to loan him the money if he agreed to pay me back in full.
Is that as specific as it went?
Pretty much, yes.
Go ahead.
He agreed to pay me within a certain amount of time.
Well, that's more specific. What was the
Yes.
amount of time?
A couple of months.
Okay.
And when he didn't, he told me he was having some problems and wasn't going to be able to pay me at that certain time. So I was upset, but I agreed to allow him more time if he would give me payments. Whenever he had money, if he could give me some cash or, whatever he was able to do.
So?
So he didn't. He failed to pay me.
When did you move in with him?
He moved in with me.
When did he move in with you?
That was about a year later.
So 1 year later, he's made no payments on this loan, and then you move in together.
Well, he...
Just answer my
I'm
question.
sorry. Yes, that's right.
Okay. And you lived together for a year.
No, we did not. We only lived together for about 2.5 months.
Your Honor, I lived with her longer than that.
He was at my house on a regular basis, but he did not live there.
Fine. When did that start?
Probably around the time that I gave him the loan. He was staying there maybe a couple nights a week.
More than a couple nights, Your Honor.
That's not correct.
It's over 2 years since this loan was made.
Yes.
And over that period, you have not gotten any payments.
He did pay me $150.
When?
In April of 2001.
Is that right, sir?
I don't know if it was 2001, but I paid her $150. But that's not including everything I did for her and her son.
What did you give her $150 for, Mr. Holdren?
Because, if I'm with her, or living with her, whatever, I expect to do something, taking care of her son and taking care of stuff around the house and stuff.
That doesn't answer my question, Mr. Holdren. What was the $150 for?
Just for her.
Well, tell me how that came about, the $150 payment.
She gave me the money and things happened. Hold on.
Mr. Holdren, you're trying to think about the right answer. I don't want you to think about the right answer, sir. I want you to think about the truthful answer. You said to me, I gave her $150 when I asked you what it was for. You did a song and dance. Now, I'm asking you the circumstances surrounding you giving her this $150 in March.
Well,
if you say I don't remember what it was for or the surrounding circumstances around it, I will understand that.
Well, I gave her money a couple times, so the $150 is like me giving her money on a regular. I mean, not on a regular, but I gave her money, you know, like any other boyfriend would do. It wasn't like I was giving her $2,000 or you know what I'm saying, like big money. But
Do you remember the circumstances surrounding the $150 payment? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
Then tell me what they were.
It was payment for money that I loaned him.
That's not what I asked you. That is the conclusion.
The circumstances?
If you don't remember, say I don't remember. Remember that I will test you. If you don't remember, say it. If you remember, tell me.
I don't remember.
Did he give you any other money during the course of your relationship over the last 2 years?
He paid me $100 after our relationship had ended. This was this past April.
What was the $100 for?
For payment from the loan that I gave him.
Did you give her $100 after you separated?
Yes.
For what?
That was for part of her thinking that I owed her all that money. So $100.
That was
part of me owing her the money.
That was part of her thinking that you owed her the money from the loan?
Right.
Oh, good, that makes it easier. So you did, Mr. Holdren, make a payment to her for this $2,000 loan.
Right.
And you made at least one payment. Is that right?
Right.
And that was made within the past year or so.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to allow you in 30 seconds or less, Mr. Holdren, explain to me why this was not a loan and you don't owe her any money.
Okay, I'll start off with this. We made an agreement when we met. Well, after we met, she has a son. He's 4. Well, he was 4 at the time. And her job is very demanding, and she has different hours every day, like early in the morning sometimes and late in the evening sometimes. And her son goes to school early in the morning. She couldn't take him to school, so I would take him to school, get him up, get him dressed, pick him up from daycare, bring him back with me, and wait till she gets off, and he'd hang out with me, whatever, for the period of time, whatever day it was.
So I'm listening. Keep going.
Yeah. I mean, I did everything. I was like a kindergarten cop with him. This whole thing to me is just like she was pimping me through the whole thing. Like, you know, she was my female pimp.
That's a nasty thing to say.
That's how it was, because I was doing everything, but she still just seemed like I owed her this whole $2,500.
Well, let me ask you this question, Mr. Holdren. How much rent did you pay?
I didn't pay rent at her house.
How much did you contribute on a regular basis for food for the house?
Depending if I went out to eat or...
No, in the house.
Little.
How much did you contribute regularly towards the utilities?
None.
So you were basically living rent-free. You had no expenses.
Your Honor, I have my own apartment, too.
Where is your apartment?
At the time, it was on the other side of town from where she lived at, on the west side.
Which side is nicer? Her side.
Yeah.
Mr. Holdren, anything else you want to tell me, sir?
I just felt like I don't owe her the whole $2,500. I mean...
So you don't think you owe her the whole $2,500?
Right.
Tell me what part of the $2,500 you think you owe her.
It would really be hard to say because...
Well, I want you to think hard. I mean, it was your statement that I don't owe her the whole $2,500.
I don't know, because the time that I put into the relationship, not only with her, but her son too, it was like, I couldn't really tell, because I was working in the morning and in the afternoon, and my schedule was flexible because I was a trainer, so I, arrange it where, I could make it a better...
Mr. Holdren,
yes.
What part of the $2,500 do you think you should be given credit for, sir?
I don't know.
So I guess you'll have to leave it up to me, right?
Well, I was hoping you'll feel my side of the story as far as me taking care of her son and everything. Because
no, Mr. Holdren, I'm going to make it very, very easy for you, sir. If there is a contract that provides, even an oral one, that you loaned me this money for the car, and I'm going to work it off by taking care of your son at $1.75 an hour while I'm taking care of him, that will be my contribution, so we're going to take that off the car loan. That's an agreement. But after the fact, you don't make that sort of an agreement. You don't sit back there and scratch your head and say, well, I did all these things for her. Therefore, I shouldn't have to owe her that much on what was originally a loan. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's just a lot of double talk that you're doing for me now. $2,500 was the original loan, and you paid her $250. So judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,250. That's all.
Yes. This is case number 287 on the calendar in the matter of Ortiz versus Palacios. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Mr. Ortiz, you and the defendant have 3 children together. Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
You say she owes you some money. Ms. Palacio says she doesn't owe you anything. As a matter of fact, she believes that you should give her some money for medical bills for the birth of one of your children, as well as some personal property. Is that right?
Yes.
How old are these children?
The other one is 4 years. That's a boy. The other one is 3 years, and my baby boy is about 9 months.
And where do these children live?
Currently, they live with the mother.
Is that right?
Yes.
And who do you live with?
With my parents.
How long have you been together with Mr. Ortiz?
We were together for almost 5 years.
During that time that you lived together?
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
When did you go back to live with your mother?
On May 28th, 2002.
And since you've been living with your mother, how much child support has Mr. Ortiz paid you?
Nothing.
Why?
Because she had failed to the child support agency to submit all the financial statement. Nothing had been settled to the child support
I don't care whether it's
agency.
been settled. What do you think? The kids don't eat between May and settlement date? They don't have doctors? They don't have clothes? What do you mean, no?
I mean, I do think that the children, they eat, and they need stuff.
Why didn't you give her any money?
Because I don't have a job, Your Honor.
You have 3 children and no job?
That's true.
Really? Something wrong with you?
Yes.
What?
I got hurt at work on June 19 and got surgery on the July 27, and since then I've been TTD.
What's TTD?
Total temporarily disabled.
What's the nature of your disability?
Problems with my back.
And you just had these problems with your back since a month after she left?
No, that's incorrect.
Well, how long have you had problems with your back?
Over a year.
Over a year?
Mm-hmm.
Who supports you?
Nobody.
Who feeds you?
Nobody.
You mean you haven't eaten in a year? Mr. Ortiz, who supports you?
The only sort of income I was receiving was a work compensation.
How much?
This month I started receiving $210 for permanent disability.
Who do you live with?
Nobody.
Do you have your own apartment?
Yes, I do.
You pay rent?
No, I don't pay rent.
Who pays you rent?
Nobody, because I own the place.
You own what place?
The apartment.
When did you buy the apartment?
On the year 1999.
While you were still together?
Yes.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $70,000.
You have a mortgage?
Yes, I do.
Who pays the mortgage?
I'm responsible to pay it.
Mr. Ortiz, you understand where I'm going, sir? You're suing her because you wanted to pay for the cost of a trip. Reimbursement for some of a Disneyland trip that you took with her. Who went on the trip? The 2 of you. Who else?
Or family.
The whole family?
Yes.
When did you go on the trip?
On September last year.
Was that shortly before or after you became disabled?
I was already disabled by then.
Then you shouldn't have gone on a trip to Disneyland. If you had no money, you don't go on a trip to Disneyland and expect her to pay half. She's got 3 children. You haven't paid her a dime since May. What, are you crazy? You think I'm going to give you any money? Shh, quiet! You think I'm going to give you any money? Man goes on disability. You're not too disabled to go to Disneyland. Spend a fortune in Disneyland when you're not working because you're disabled, because you have a back problem. And you expect me to order her to pay you for half of the trip to Disneyland? Hello? Then you want to be reimbursed for car insurance. You want to tell me about the car insurance?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Last year, I referred her where she's currently employed. I put the word in for her, that way she can get hired. And then she didn't have a way to transportation. And then she said that she wanted to use my vehicle. And she promised me that she was going to pay for the maintenance and the car insurance for this vehicle.
I'm not even asking her that question. You mean because you were unemployed, because you're disabled, because you have a bad back that only lets you go to Disneyland. She went and got a job. She needed a car to go to the job. You're living as a family with your 3 children. She drove your car, so you wanted to pay your insurance. Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me? Hello?
What I'm telling you is that she promised that she was...
I don't care. I don't believe it. I'm not even going to ask her. I don't care. You made 3 children. You made a promise, morally, to support them. You haven't done it. For a long time, you haven't done it. What?
We split up in May. They spent 16 days with me, those children, on the month of June. The child support is to be retroactive as of June. Since then, I've been working with the child support agency, and I'm just waiting to pay all my...
Listen to me, sir. Because you're waiting for the child support agency to tell you how much to pay doesn't mean that you don't give her money for the children. Do you understand?
I understand, Your Honor.
Good. You're living in your condo, paying the mortgage. She's living with her parents, who did not bargain to have 3, 4 little kids home with them because the two of you split up. She can't afford to live in her own place. Are you working?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
Right now I'm a shift supervisor.
How many hours a day do you work?
Normally, a day I work 7.5.
And who takes care of your children?
My mother and my sister.
What about him? He doesn't do anything. Why didn't he babysit for the children during the day?
Because he was very abusive. That's why we got
he's very abusive that I wouldn't let him take care of a goldfish. In any event, Mr. Ortiz, you get no money from her. Nothing. You have to have a good moral character. First of all, you live together with her as a family, despite the fact that you chose not to get married. Why, I will never know. If you made 3 children, is there any reason why you didn't get married?
Yes, Your Honor. There's a big
What is
reason.
that?
It's a long story from the very beginning. When she got pregnant, she was not living with me. You know, we were having an affair together.
Why don't you tell me why you didn't get married after your second child was born?
Because that was the reason. She was not living with me when she got pregnant with the second child.
What about with the third one?
With the third one, because she wanted an abortion, she never wanted to do nothing with me.
So you mean you asked her to marry you and she said no?
I never asked her to marry me.
You wanted her to ask you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My dear Mr. Ortiz, Bird didn't make your 5 children. You made your 5 children. If you can't afford to support 5 children, you don't make 5 children. Period.
And later today,
Miss Brooks says there was a terrible
storm.
And when she came down to check on
the dog,
she also checked on the
equipment.
And she doesn't know anything about anything. Correct.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jose Ortiz says his ex-girlfriend, Mary Palacios, owes for the cost of a trip to Disneyland. Mary says Jose doesn't pay child support for their 3 kids.
What do you want? Medical bills?
Yeah, at least half of the medical bills and reimbursement for everything he kept. Because when I left him with only what I had and a few change of clothes for my children.
Tell me why.
Because I was already afraid of him, and I had it already. I got fed up. And when I asked him that I wanted the rest of my clothing, he told me that it was his property, that I had no right going back to his property. So I never went back. Only one time I went back with 2 sheriffs who escorted me in order to keep the peace. The only thing I ended up getting out of there as well was a few more changes of clothes, but I didn't get all of them. He kept the majority of them. But I left
of
him
your
because,
clothes?
Yeah, of my clothing. And I've seen
Where's
him
her
wear
clothing?
a few of my pants.
The only thing I have is this that she left on my card. That's it.
I'm sorry, that is a lie.
Just a second. Now tell me about the furniture. Did you keep all the furniture?
Yes, I do have all the furniture, Your Honor.
Who purchased it?
I did, Your Honor.
And what about her?
She didn't purchase nothing.
What was she doing?
Just home.
She was home taken care of?
The children, she didn't want to work. She put many excuses. Who's going to pay babysitting? I'll probably get the minimum wage. And then whatever I will be making, I will be spending on child care. That's what she told me.
And?
And she never wanted to work.
Okay. Listen to me very carefully, madam. You have no claim for furniture unless you can demonstrate to me that you paid for it. Because the 2 of you were not married for whatever reason. When you're not married, there is no court that's going to say that we're going to equitably distribute this property. And as far as the medical bills for the birth of one of the children, your family court action that settles the issue of support should also settle the issue of medical bills, because he is required by law, once paternity is established, to go back and pay, in addition to his child support, the birthing costs of the children. Do you understand that?
When we went to family law, I went to child support services, and I asked them if there's somehow that they can make him pay for the rest of this, because I've already paid for like half of it.
Let me see it. And they said what?
They told me what I needed was a court order stating that he is...
the father?
Actually saying that he does have to pay half of it.
Your Honor, she's claiming 2 bills. I have paid the one for Brea. The other one is from an abortion that she had in the year 2000.
Is that true?
I've never had an abortion. And when we went to family law, he also signed his own stipulation saying that he would agree to pay half of it.
Oh, he did?
Yes. Only I didn't sign it because what he wanted me to agree on was joint custody, and that I didn't think was right, because they needed to be somewhere where, a stable home, not just
Well,
jumping.
nobody's going to give him custody of the children if you say he's abusive, and you can establish that.
Your Honor, I have joint custody, physical and legally, with my child.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Show
Not
me.
anymore.
I don't have the court order with me, but I do have joint custody, physical and legal, with my child.
Well, when are the children with you, sir?
They were Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That way she can have the weekend.
Is that right?
No, it's going to change now because he was found to be mentally unstable in family law, and also that it was found that he was very controlling and abusive in our relationship. And now what he's going to get from now on is supervised visitation, Saturdays from 10 to 2, Sundays 10 to 2, and it has to be supervised.
Is that correct, sir? I just want to know what the current order is. Is it for supervised visitation or is it 4 days a week?
It's current until the order kick in.
When was the last time you saw your children, sir?
Last week.
When did you see them?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
And they stayed at your house?
Correct.
Do you have a copy of this order
It's
for
not
supervised?
in yet because it just went through October 10th, and it's not in yet.
Was he present?
Yes, he was.
Were you present when the court issued a ruling?
No, the ruling that the judge made it on the 11th this month. And I was on court hearing on the 10th because I want custody of my child that she's been abusing so much.
All right. When are they supposed to give you an order with regard to the child support?
I have an appointment October 28th to determine who's going to have to pay and how much.
Okay, fine. So I'm not making
Your
any
Honor, I
order.
have a court hearing yesterday for one of my childs, and my child support with my daughter was dropped to 0 because I can afford the payments. Also, you know, I've been using my credit card to pay for some of the stuff that my child needs.
Sir, I would suggest that what you do is you find another way of making a living. Did you walk into the courtroom today?
Yes, I
did. Did you walk into the courtroom today?
Yes, I did.
Have you been standing there for 20 minutes?
Yes, I do.
You haven't been using crutches or a cane. You've been standing there. You're going to turn around and walk out? And you're speaking. Is that right?
Yes.
Then what you have to do is to find a job, sir, that doesn't require the use of your back if your back hurts you. You have to find another way of earning a living.
I just got my license permits from the California. I'm
For
going
what?
to start to sell computers. I haven't even started my business. I have my permit, my state.
Oh, so you're going to start a business?
I'm going to start my own business, yes, Your Honor.
Good. You mean instead of getting a job so
Yes,
that you
Your
can
Honor,
attach your
because
salary? Are these the only 3 children that you have?
I have 5 children, Your Honor.
Where are your other 2 children, sir?
The other one is over there on the same town where I live. One of them is right here on LA.
How old are they?
The oldest one is 10 years old. The other one is 8 years old.
You send their mother's child support?
Yes, Your Honor.
When was the last time you sent money for those 2 children?
On my last paycheck that I got.
Which was when?
I believe it was like on the 15th.
Of what?
Of this month.
You told me you didn't get a paycheck. You told me you haven't been working in a year.
Yes, Your Honor, but my sole income is the permanent disability that I'm collecting right now, and they basing my child support on that. And then she's expecting me to pay child support too on top of supporting my other 2 children.
Listen, my dear Mr. Ortiz, Bird didn't make your 5 children. These 2 gentlemen didn't make your 5 children. You made your 5 children. If you can't afford to support 5 children, you don't make 5 children. Period. End of discussion. He supports his children. I support my children. We don't want to support your children. And if you can't support 5, you don't have 5. You have 1.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jose Ortiz says his ex-girlfriend, Mary Palacios, owes for the cost of a trip to Disneyland. Mary says Jose doesn't pay child support for their 3 kids.
Mr. Ortiz, you get 0 from this lady. And madam, start life afresh. You have 4 children. Hopefully you can get some child support from him because you are not blameless in this whole thing either.
Yeah.
You know, you had 1 child, then you had 3 more with him. Bum, bada bum, bada bum, right? You're not married. How old are you?
25.
25. Not smart. Not smart. You have certain responsibility.
Yes, I know.
So, and you brought your troubles home to your mother because she didn't anticipate having to start rearing children now, I'm sure, at her stage in life.
That's true.
What you have to do is you have to realize you made a mistake, put a period, and move on. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Good. Goodbye, folks.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He can't control me anymore. That's it. That's the bottom line.
Then with you, because you just have money, you don't have money to throw your way.
I was always too afraid to have him arrested because he always told me if I did have him arrested, he'd bring me down with him.
She put me like a boogeyman.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Wagoner versus Rockema, step forward, please.
Truck driver Michael Wagoner and his wife Gabriella are suing their former landlord, foreman Shane Roukema, for destroying their furniture. Shane says the couple's accusations are ridiculous.
You rented a house from the defendant, is that
Yeah.
right? He had a piece of property, and there were 2 houses on the property. You rented 1 house. He lives in the other.
The back house is the garage that he made into a house.
For himself.
Yes,
And what was the rent on the house you were renting?
$550.
that a pretty good rent?
Very cheap.
Why do you think it was so cheap?
Because he was, before I lived there, he had a problem with some other tenants that were there, and they had major drug problem there, and so he offered it to me afterwards. And
had you known him before?
I've known Shane for about 5 years.
And what you're suing him for is you say that he, while he was under the influence of drugs, tore down the walls in your house and ruined your furniture with dust.
Scratched up my furniture as well.
Tell me about that.
Well, on the 22nd of April, I came home and I saw a big old pile of debris out in my front yard. Kept on walking, and I walked up to the door. I opened up the door.
Of your house?
Yes, and I looked, and all the walls were torn out, everything. I have pictures here to show that the walls were torn out.
Can I see it, please?
Mm-hmm.
On April 1st, had you paid your rent?
Yes.
Do you have your rent receipts?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please.
I take the utilities out of the rent, and I pay them myself. So I pay $450.
But after this happened, you only paid him $200.
Because he told me, since all the problems that he had caused me, that I only have to pay half of the rent.
And you said what?
No, and I said, okay, that's fair.
Okay, so on May 1st, after this incident happened, you said, okay, that's fair. Here's $200.
Yes, because...
Okay,
right.
I'm just
okay.
understanding what happened. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and so when I saw that what he had done, he walked through the back door, and he gave me this strange look, and I said, "What are you doing?" And he told me, basically, he said, "It had to be done." And I said, "What do you mean it had to be done? You were working on the back, and now all of a sudden you come in my house without permission, without advance warning, and just start doing this with all my furniture here?" And he said, "It was the spur of the moment," his exact words. Because I asked him, "Why didn't you cover any of my furniture or anything?" And I have my furniture, all of it, showing that it's damaged, right here, all the pictures.
I'd like to see it.
My big screen TV, everything. He did not cover nothing.
Okay, now I'm ready to hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. I told the...
Look at me. Don't look down.
Okay.
Look at me.
I told the plaintiff that I was going to remove the wall from the kitchen to the living room and have some kitchen cabinets made up and do some light demo. We had talked about it months before.
When, immediately prior to April 22nd, did you notify him that you were coming in? Did you talk to him on April 21st?
No, it was 2 weeks prior to that, Your Honor, because I went to Colorado to see my mother. And before I went, I talked to him about it in his kitchen.
Fine. Now you get back.
Yes.
And you decide to do it on the 22nd. Now, the last time you spoke to him about it was before you went to your mother's. Is that right?
Yes.
When did you finish that job?
I did not finish the job because the cabinets had to be measured after the wall was down. So the guy had to come in and take measurements, and by that time he was gone.
So what you're telling me, sir, is first you knocked down all the walls and then somebody was coming to take
Not
down
all
measurements?
the walls. I knocked some of the plaster off the front wall, and that's what you see there.
Why in the last 6 months have you not completed the house?
Because I don't need to go fast anymore. We agreed that if he stayed in the house while I was doing the demo, I would do sections at a time and complete them.
Sir, I don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth. I don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth. When somebody does work on a kitchen, first they have somebody come in and take measurements. They plan it out. What they don't do is they don't take down all the walls and then say, now I'm going to get somebody to come in, and now they're going to take measurements. Your problem, Mr. and Mrs. Wagner, is that you accepted a resolution of this problem.
That's not true, Your Honor.
You let me finish. If you had said, I'm going to pay you your rent, I'm not accepting $200 for the damage that you did, then I would say to you, you have a claim. But when you accept a settlement, which is what you did, you're still stuck, but there's one thing that you're not stuck for, and you're not stuck for the fact that he trespassed on your property because you paid April's rent. And he has no right to come into your property without giving you adequate notice, which you did not do. Because the fact that you may have said to him, if I believed you, which I don't, Listen, I want to do some demolition and some light work in the house. And people who live 2 feet away from you, you couldn't come in and say, listen, can you get your stuff together because I'm coming in tomorrow or in 2 days to fix it. I don't believe that. You had no business being there. Judgment for the plaintiff for $2,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Down in the matter of Stouch versus Stalling. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mr. and Mrs. Stouch, was this a first wedding for both of you?
First for him, second for me.
According to your complaint, you booked the defendant's hall for your wedding.
Correct.
You were unhappy with what you saw when you finally saw it, and you want her to give you back all kinds of money, including a whole bunch for your aggravation.
Yes.
When was your wedding scheduled?
August 11th.
And when did you book the defendant's hall?
Right around June 5th.
Where is the defendant's hall located?
In Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
And where were you living?
Kansas City, Kansas.
Why were you getting married in Arkansas?
Well, we've learned a lot about Arkansas, about Eureka Springs, a nice little village, and...
How far is it from...
It's 5 hours, but there's a lot of wedding chapels in Eureka.
So you mean you were schlepping everybody out there, this 5-hour drive?
Yeah, a lot of his family and friends are from
The area.
the area.
That's what I'm getting at. So a lot of your family was actually there already.
They were within 2 hours away.
Okay. And you booked the place sight unseen?
Over the internet, we found it.
Over the internet, but sight unseen. You never went to look at it.
Correct.
You never went to look at it? You never had any of your family or friends who live in Arkansas go to look at it?
No, my family is 2 hours away from Arkansas.
That's okay. A 2-hour trip. Which family? You have parents, sisters, brothers?
Sisters, brothers, and
So you say to your brother or your sister, do me a favor, take a ride up to this place. I saw it on the internet. You know, I think it's a nice place. I'd like you to take a look at it and make sure it's, you know, what we think it is. All right. So you went to look at the chapel how much before the wedding?
We showed up a day before the wedding. We had no reason to believe that it wasn't going to be a nice place. The pictures on the internet shows us it's nice. We're not supposed to just assume that it's a, you know, a dump.
Well, that's what you found. According to you, you found that it was a dump, right?
According, yes, but the internet pictures were totally different.
How much of a deposit had you given her?
A $200 deposit.
And she was supposed to provide other things as well. Food, right?
Supplied food.
Cake?
Cake.
Now, you got there a day before you saw this place, and it was, according to you, a dump.
Very much so.
So what'd you do?
Spent the whole next day trying to find a new place. I went to the Chamber of Commerce. I went to try to get a hold of her. It took many hours to get a hold of her. The Chamber finally got a hold of her for us. I explained to her that we couldn't get married there. She refused to give us any money back. Then the Chamber actually got a hold of her, and she decided to give us $275 and give us the food and the cakes. But the cake was, in my opinion, unedible. It tasted like the place smelled.
Shh. I just like to see some photographs if you have them. I'm not to you yet.
There's before what it was supposed to look like. Then there's some. We have quite a few that we've taken of what it actually looks like.
Okay.
And if you'll notice, the floor is completely destroyed. And on the internet picture, it looks like the floor is brand new.
This is the picture that you're showing me of what the inside of the chapel looked like on the internet,
Yes.
right? Do you have this picture?
No.
Well, and I can't tell what it looked like, what this picture looked like.
Do they have a picture of it being destroyed, the floor being destroyed?
Yes, we do.
They have pictures of the floor looking a little bit seedy, but
That's where we
that
have to
doesn't-
stand when we were
that-
getting married.
That doesn't impress me one way or another. One are outside pictures, one are inside pictures.
Correct.
So let me understand this. You gave her a $200 deposit.
Yes.
She gave you back $275, right?
Correct.
She gave you all the food, right?
Correct.
So what do you want?
We paid more than $275. We didn't pay just a $275 deposit.
Well, what did you pay?
Yeah, the total was $857.53. We also had to come up with another $857 to get married somewhere.
On a last minute.
That day, we had to find another place to get married. There was no way we could have got married there.
Based upon the pictures that you show me, I don't see that there's any way that you couldn't gotten married there.
Would you have gotten married there?
I don't know. I can't tell from your picture, sir.
Look at the outside. There's beer bottles
I'm
outside.
not talking about the outside. I'm talking about the inside.
Well, the outside has a lot to do with it.
Listen
Beer
to me. You're
bottles.
talking, hey, don't speak to him.
I'm sorry.
You're talking about misrepresentation. Do you understand? You're talking about misrepresentation. You showed me a picture on the internet, this photograph.
Correct.
So what I asked you is, show me this picture of what this area was when you arrived. You don't have that picture. So I cannot make a judgment as to whether this picture misrepresented to you what the place looked like. You got a responsibility. Listen, I made a lot of weddings in my life, got a lot of kids, and I got married a couple of times myself. I never chose a place to get married based upon a picture. Never.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tony and Nicole Stouch say they rented Sherilyn Stallings' wedding site via the internet. The Stouches say the location turned out to be a dump.
Now, if she gave you $275 back in cash, plus she gave you all the food for the wedding.
There's no way we could have came up with the food and the cake.
We had to take the food. We didn't want the food. We had less than 24 hours left.
Did you have other people cater the wedding?
No, she was
So you
in charge of
used
catering.
that food to feed your people.
If we didn't use that food, we would have been out food and cake. We had to use that food, yes. we
So
did.
you used it. That's what you
Yes,
used to feed
but
your...
it was awful.
I've been to weddings where the chicken was rubbery myself. That doesn't mean that the people sued them.
He works evenings, I work days. There was no possible way to even, I mean, we couldn't have done it.
Let me explain something to you. That's your responsibility.
It's also her responsibility to have a website that the pictures and her place looks like. I mean,
That's your responsibility. You're planning a wedding. Some people may like to plan a wedding in a dungeon. Some people may think it's kinky. Some people like to get married jumping out of airplanes, holding hands with a rabbi. Right? Not my thing. Some people like to get married at the top of a roller coaster. They think that that's interesting. It's not my thing. You were charged with the obligation of choosing a place. You chose this place based upon this picture.
And based on talking to her and telling us how nice it was.
Right. Well, what is she supposed to say? She's supposed to say it's not nice?
Well, it's not nice.
That's your fault. Send your sister over to the place and say, listen, we're contemplating doing this place. Do me a favor. Take a 2-hour ride. I want to make sure that this place, the whole place, is similar to this one picture that I saw on the internet. You didn't do that. What are you complaining about? You got married. You had your family and friends there. You had food. The food wasn't great. You know what you do when you do a wedding? You go to the place and you say, this is the place? Good. Now I want a tasting. You're going to supply the food. I'd like to taste whatever you say that you're going to provide so that I can select a menu. That's what people do. If you're doing this thing over the phone, you run certain risks. You had opportunities. You work days, you work nights. I'm sure that both of you don't work 7 days a week.
6 days.
Well, that's not 7. On the 7th day, you travel. If it's so important to you to see what the place looks like and to select the menu, you get in the car and you go there and take a look to see what it's about. You don't come in kvetching later that the place didn't look nice when I got there. Listen, you got married, be happy. Goodbye. Case is dismissed.
All right, excuse you, may step out.
The Miracle Mansion is not the place to get married.
I'm not ashamed of my building.
My wedding was pretty much ruined.
And my website pictures are accurate.
It was awful.
This is case number 301 on the calendar in the matter of Elliott versus Elliott Pruitt. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Is that child necessary in the courtroom?
He's a witness.
How old is he?
5.
I'd like him to wait outside.
Okay.
Let me see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miss Elliott, the defendant is your brother and the co-defendant is his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
According to you, you made a series of loans to your brother, which was only partially repaid. And then you claim that he assaulted you.
Yes.
And the vast majority of your claim is for damages as a result of that assault. That's what this is about. Your brother says that he paid you back and that it was actually you who assaulted him. So let's first start with the loans. When did you make these loans and what were they for?
Some were for miscellaneous things to start a new house.
When?
In April.
And how much did you give him in April?
$149 for the miscellaneous things, and then $465 for his first month's rent, and $20 for a credit check to get the place.
Now, Mr. Elliott, is it correct that your sister gave you that money?
Yes. Plus, I loaned him a futon, a box fan, and a ceiling fan that was to be returned to me.
Futon and 2 fans. Okay. How much did he pay you back for the loans?
He gave me one payment of $318, one payment of $3, and one payment of $50.
What was the $3 payment?
That's all she gave me that day. She said that's all they had.
So all told, they repaid you $371?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about the loans.
Well, I got it right here. This is my evidence for you to look at, that we paid him.
Did he ever sign a check over to you in the amount of $418?
Yeah, right around 5th of April, I got a check from AFDC for $418, and I cashed it and gave them $100 back. They said they needed it.
Does that sound right? Probably. I believe her. Speak.
She only gave us $100 back. It wasn't
That's
$160.
what I just said. No, that's what she said. She gave you $100 back.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
So the answer is yes, she gave you $100 back. So what else are you showing me? What is $930?
That was for the lease because she helped us get the house.
No.
And stuff.
I'm asking you about the rest of the money. She said that you gave her back
Oh, I didn't bring in,
$318,
I didn't bring in my,
$3 and $50.
I didn't bring in my check stubs, but we don't have any receipt for the money that we exchanged because we didn't think it was going to be an issue.
What do you mean you don't think it was going to be an issue? What did you think you were coming here for? Ballet lessons?
No.
So you have no proof that you have fully repaid this loan, is that correct?
No.
Fine, so you owe her $263 on the loan.
Yes.
Yes. Why couldn't we just get there right from the beginning? Now, you have the futon and the 2 ceiling fans. Where are they?
In storage.
In storage.
Yes.
Well, those you'll get back to her.
Yes.
Fine. 5 days from today, she gets back the futon and the 2 ceiling fans.
There is a restraining order for them not to come near me, so how?
Oh, that's all right. We'll arrange for it. Do you have a local precinct?
Yes.
Yes.
At noon on the 5th of next month, your U-Hauler, the futon, and the 2 ceiling fans are to be in front of the precinct. Got it?
Yes.
Noon, high noon, futon and 2 fans. Now let's talk about this assault, because that's the remainder of your complaint. Let me hear.
I went over there and was sitting down talking to Candace. He came in and started yelling with his hands in my face. I started to say something. He said, "I didn't tell you could talk, you bitch." And I stood up and was going to go out the door, but he was standing in front of the door. He had welding gloves on because that's what he was doing at the time, was welding work. He slapped me across the face. She was behind me in the living room and yelled, "Jeremy, no." And he kept yelling. I said, "That's it. I'm taking my name off the lease if you're not going to be responsible and respect me." He got mad and was still yelling. So I tried to get out the door, and he was trying to, with his body, push me back in or not let me out, blocking me. And he punched me in the face. I said, "That's it. I'm calling the cops." And he kept yelling, "You don't do that to family." I said, "You don't hit family either." I said, "I'm out of here. That's it. I don't care." She's yelling, "Kathy, just leave." I'm trying to leave, but he's not there anymore. My nephew has a heart condition and had open heart surgery, and he was with me. He was so scared he wouldn't go to the car. I'm trying to get him out of the way because he can't have any blows or anything to his chest. At that time, after he hit me the second time, I do believe I pushed him a little bit to get him away so I could get out the door. I came outside trying to get Lorenzo, telling him to move.
That's your nephew?
Yes, and he's scared. He's not going nowhere. I'm pushing him. He comes at me again. I did have a 32-ounce plastic cup in my hand that I threw and told him to get away from me, that I was leaving and I was calling the cops. He's still yelling, "You don't do that to family," and a bunch of other nice little names. And he came at me again. I did grab him in a headlock so that my face would not get punched anymore because it hurt. When I put him in the headlock, she jumped on my back. So I pushed him away, and I don't know where she went after that because she was no longer on my back. When he went to the ground, I grabbed my nephew and shoved him towards the car, and he came after me, threw my nephew in, went to get in. My window was down. He punched me in the left face again as I was in the car, and I took off and called the police.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathleen Elliott says her brother, Jeremy Elliott, owes for unpaid loans, the return of property, and an assault. Jeremy says Kathleen is crazy and attacked him first.
Now we'll hear from you. Don't
well,
smile.
The
Whether the
night,
story is accurate or not, it's nothing to laugh about.
it didn't exactly go down like that.
Well, I'm waiting, sir, for your version of the events.
What happened was my boss said that somebody was waiting out front of my work. He says, you need to go out there because they're asking for you. So I walk out there and it's my sister. She was waiting out there from 4 o'clock till 5 o'clock, knowing I don't get off till 5 o'clock. And my boss was, you need to tell her to leave. So I walked out there, you need to leave. I'm waiting for you to pay me. I said, well, I understand that, but I'm not off work yet, and you can't be out here.
Okay, your sister's waiting outside, waiting for you to give her some money that you owe her. So it comes 5 o'clock and you leave work. What did you do?
I get on my bike, I start riding.
Did you stop? You say, I'm going home, I'll see you home?
I said I was going to the liquor store.
You said you were going to the liquor store?
Yeah.
Is that right? No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Mr. Elliott, I have a detector back here. So I want you to be very careful what you say to me, sir. So let's get past the fact that you told her you were going to the liquor store to cash your check so that you could give her the money you owed her, because that never happened. You got on your bike and you rode home, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I proceeded on down Wilson Way, and then she's going at 5 miles an hour with traffic behind her screaming, I'm going to get my money one way or another, screaming and hollering at me and making a public scene. So I turned down one of the streets that she couldn't turn down. I don't remember the name of it. I got to the liquor store, and she wasn't there. So my house was right behind the liquor store, and she was there when I got there. I walked in the door and said, sis, we need to talk. For one, you can't be out front of my work. My boss is going to fire me over this. You're screaming, yeah, I need to pay you, I need to pay you. Well, give me some time to pay you. I can't pay you like that. I mean, I got to pay my bills. I have all kinds of other bills I have to pay back, too. That's when she gets up off the futon, and she like rhinoed me. That's how they put it. They rhinoed me out the door, and I hit the pole, and then after that, I don't know what happened because I was in a headlock.
So you're saying that you never punched her?
Nope.
You never put your hands on her?
You hit her with the glove.
Yeah, I hit her with the glove.
You did?
Yes.
When did you hit her with the glove?
Right before she grabbed me in the headlock.
You have
But
any
she'd already shoved me.
photographs? Do you have any
I have
photographs?
photographs that they
I'd
took
like
right
to see.
afterwards, and I have a medical report saying
like
that
to
there's
see both,
bruises,
please.
and they took x-rays.
I'd like to see.
And there's, somehow my foot got stepped on, and there's a picture of the mark that there's still a scar. There's some cuts on the cheek where they did a close-up from when he hit me open-handed with the welding gloves on the first time.
I see what appear to be scratches on your face that are consistent with being hit with something rough. Nothing black and blue.
Well,
no
that was
open
only half an
abrasions.
hour later.
You have
My-
any photographs afterwards?
No, they didn't come out.
No, I can't look at something that didn't come
But
out.
my sister saw the bruising afterwards.
If you had bruising afterwards, you take photographs. Were you arrested for this, sir?
No, I was not.
How come?
Because the deputy that we talked to, he said it just looks like it was a
Family dispute.
family dispute. And if I told him I said I didn't have no problems, and
She was on our property.
I did file a restraining order shortly after.
What happened with it?
I have a restraining order.
still
Right now,
going.
it's good for 3 years.
You do?
Yes.
Can I
for
see
him
it,
to stay away
please?
from me and my nephew.
Can I see it, please?
They didn't bother to come.
How come you didn't show up for the hearing?
because at the time I was moving and I didn't receive the paperwork for it.
No, that's not true. That's a lie.
Served by the sheriff's
That's
department.
a lie.
At work.
I told you. Don't lie. She has proof of service by a sheriff, right?
Yes, at my work.
I didn't ask you whether you were served at your home or your work or on Mars. You were served, so why do you tell me that you weren't served?
I didn't mean it that I wasn't served.
That's what you just said. Isn't that what he just said?
On that paperwork, there
I
wasn't
wasn't
no
served and I
address.
was moving.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
Or not address,
what he
the date.
All right. Miss Elliott, listen to me. He certainly owes you the $263. What was your unreimbursed medical?
$86.93.
Let's make it $90.
Well, I also had to pay for medicine out of my own pocket for
And how much was that?
$43.54, and I had to go to physical therapy, cost gas, and then I had to pay $22 for the pictures and stuff from the police department.
Don't talk to me about gas. You had $133 out-of-pocket expense for both your medicals and your medicine.
Yes.
Those two things. 10 times that. $1,593. That's 10 times what your actual damages were. Okay? Plus what he owes you for the loan. Because, Mr. Elliott, I don't believe anything that you say, sir. And I didn't even ask you anything. Right?
Yeah.
You have your judgment?
If they don't return the furniture.
Oh, they'll return the furniture.
Not in good shape.
You didn't expect it back in great shape.
Yes, I did. They promised it would be returned in good condition.
How long have you known that he was marginal, madam?
He had never been marginal to me.
But you knew that he was
And
marginal
I
with other people.
Was in another state.
Just a minute. You knew he was
Yes, I
marginal
did.
with other people. You know, you got to use your good judgment. That's all.
Pardons our excuse. You may step out.
Well,
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
He was lying and she knew it.
I just hope she's happy now and she just goes on with her life.
He needs to grow up and act like a man.
Claiming that she was hurt.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kittle versus Vasala, step forward, please.
23-year-old student Kristen Kittle is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old military serviceman Gerald Vasala, for an unpaid loan to buy a car. Gerald says the money was a gift.
Miss Kittle, the defendant was a boyfriend of yours. You dated for a while. And then you were foolish enough to loan him some money so that he could purchase a car, according to you. Mr. Vasala acknowledges the fact that you gave him money for the car. Only Mr. Vasala says there was no loan. This was a gift that you made to him. Is that your defense, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
When did he purchase this car?
February 10th of 2001.
Were you still dating at the time?
Yes, we were.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding you turning money over to him.
We went to a used car sale.
Look at me.
We went to a used car sale at Qualcomm Stadium. He could only withdraw $350 at that time. According to him, his bank was located in Chicago. He couldn't go to the bank and withdraw the money. I told him I could go to my bank. I had Wells Fargo. I could withdraw the money and loan it to him, and he could pay me back the following day.
How much did you take out of your account and give him that day?
$1,800.
So far, did she give you $1,800?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all we want to know. And you have proof of that with a bank withdrawal, I
Yes.
assume. Can I see it, please? What kind of a car did you purchase?
1987 Oldsmobile Color Supreme.
And how much was the total purchase price?
I think $21.50 was the total.
So the next day comes, he didn't give you back the money.
No.
So I'll hear you.
Well, she did give me the money to purchase a car. Like I said, she gave it to me. It wasn't a loan. I'm freezing up right now.
Freezing? This is not a good time to freeze, sir.
I know that.
Let me see if I can make it easier for you.
Okay.
You're at this car sale.
Right.
You see a car that you like.
Right.
When you saw the one that you liked, did you have to negotiate the price with
Yes.
someone?
Yes.
Who did you negotiate the price
With a car salesman.
And what was the original purchase price?
I think it was, I'm not sure, somewhere in the lower threes. I'm not sure exactly.
And you dickered back and forth, and you finally came up with a price?
Right.
So now he says to you, okay. What's your first name?
Gerald.
Do they call you
Oh,
Gerald?
Jerry.
Okay, Jerry. We got a deal. $21.50. You got me down. You're a great negotiator, Jerry. $21.50. Where's your money?
At the bank.
At the bank.
Right.
Okay. So is that what you told the salesman?
Yeah, we got in
And
the
then you
car.
went to the bank
Yes.
with the plaintiff.
Right.
And what happened when you got to the bank?
I tried taking the money out of the ATM. I wasn't aware there was a limit. So I was only take out $3 or $3.50.
Okay, so you get to the bank and you're really surprised, Jerry, that you
Right.
could only take out $3.50 because you had enough money to cover it, right?
Right.
Because you wouldn't have bought this car if you'd had, at that moment, if you didn't have enough
Correct.
money to cover it,
Yes.
right? So, gee, all I can take out is $3.50. What's your first name?
Kristen.
Kristen. All I can take out is $3.50. I love this car. So Kristen says, don't worry, I can give you the money. Right?
Right.
Because I have Wells Fargo. Jerry! Are you getting my point?
Yes, I get your point.
So Kristen, your girlfriend, says, don't worry, I can take out the other $1,800 and you'll give it back to me. Excuse me? You don't want to say anything, do you?
No, I haven't.
So she takes out the $1,800 and she gives it to you.
Yes.
When for the first time did Miss Kittle ask you for this money back?
After we had broken up.
And how much later was that?
A few months. I'm not sure exactly how long.
Really?
Right.
No. When did you ask him for the money back?
I asked him for the money back when we were together. He said he couldn't pay it all back. He had other debts. He needed to get another job, and he asked for some more time. And I said, you know what, we're together at the time.
Well,
I'll
let
give you-"
me ask you this question. You're not together now, are you?
Oh, no.
He said to you he didn't have all the money right then and there. However, old Jerry told you he wanted to go to the bank. Put your papers down, Jerry.
Okay.
He said, let's go to the bank so I can get out the money. So the next day or a couple of days later, when he said to you, well, I don't have all the money, common sense would suggest you say to him, Jerry, you had the money in the bank when you bought the car because you just said you couldn't get all the money out because they would only give you $350. So you had the money in the bank. Why won't you give it to me?
Well,
wouldn't that be part of your conversation with him?
Well, actually, can I tell you what happened was that...
Yeah, I want you to actually tell me what happened.
Okay, actually, afterwards, he allegedly said that he got $1,000 stolen from him. He was staying at the military hospital at the time, and he was going home to Chicago. He owed his mom $500. He had other debts to pay, and he didn't have the money to pay me back at the time.
So he asked you if you would wait?
Yes.
And you said?
I said, that's fine. I still have a little bit of money in the bank. That's fine.
And then shortly thereafter, you broke up?
Yes.
And when you broke up, you filed a lawsuit against him?
Yes.
And then he tried to whittle his way back into your good graces?
So-so, yes.
But so you withdrew the lawsuit at that time?
He said he wanted to get a job to make some money. I tried to...
So you
This is
withdrew
my
the
last
lawsuit
resort.
at that time?
Yes.
Fine. Now, old Jerry, you made some payments on this car
Yes.
to her.
Only
When?
to try and stop it from coming to court.
When?
When? I don't know the exact dates. She probably has them.
Well, before or after you broke up with her the second time?
Before.
How much does he still owe you?
He owes me $1,600.
Jerry, it's not nice to try to fool Mother Nature, sir. You understand
Not
that?
trying to fool nobody.
Yes, you did.
All right, can I go back for a second here?
Can you go back for a second?
Yeah,
Where,
because
Jerry?
I approved fair that I had the money to pay her back, and when I tried paying her, she was telling me, no, it's not necessary. I tried getting her routing and account number.
Yes, I understand that. Papers say that you tried to get her routing number so that you could wire the money into her account,
Right,
right? And that you had trouble getting her routing number.
right.
Right, no, I got that. I read that in the paper. So why did you just get a check? That check
No.
and mail it
She
to
told
her?
me not to worry about it. She told me you don't have to pay me back.
Never happened.
It did happen.
Never
It did happen.
happened.
You weren't there. I was. It happened.
Listen, Jerry, what happened was you could only take out $350 from the bank.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted the car. She said, I can get the money for you. You're a couple. She got the money. She expected to be paid back. You fetched and cried like a baby, and you said, I got her the bills, money was stolen, I owe my mother $500, could I take a little time to pay you back? And she said, sure. So you took care of what you considered your other responsibilities, and then when you got around to it, you sent her $50 here and $50 there, and all of a sudden you made up in your mind that this was really a gift. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 477 on the calendar in the matter of Hubbard versus Hubbard. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
You're Michael.
Yes.
Michael, the defendant is your father, and according to your complaint, when you were 16 or 17, you had a job.
Yes.
Or two jobs.
Two, yes.
And you and your dad opened a bank account and deposited your money in the account. The money was all your money. You needed his signature on the account because you were a minor.
Yes.
And then there was some sort of a dispute involving your father and your mother, and they're divorced?
Separated.
And your father withdrew all the money from your account.
All of it but $2.51.
And how much money did you have in the account?
Before he withdrew it, I had $1,527.51.
Why did you withdraw your son's money?
$775 I drew out for room and board when he stayed with me for 2 months.
All right, so let's start with the $775 that you withdrew for room and board.
Yes.
When did he live with you?
From June 20th until August 20th.
And how old was your son in June of 2001.
17.
When did he turn 18?
December 11th.
You can't charge him for room and board. You're his father. You're responsible for him.
Ma'am, he was living with his mother at the time, and he came to, with her agreement, came to live with me so he could work.
Mm-hmm.
Before June, I was paying child support.
Mm-hmm.
And when he came to live with me, I just figured that I was entitled to the child support back.
You figured wrong. You may be entitled to child support back, but not from him.
When this all started out, I acknowledged to him that I was going to do this, and he had
I don't care what you acknowledge to him. And even if he agreed that he'd pay you room and board, even if he agreed, which he didn't, you can't hold a minor to a contract. I mean, I never heard of something so ridiculous in my life. Your son worked, he put money in the bank, he was saving for, I don't know, college, future, whatever. You decided later to withdraw money because you figured he owed you for room and board. Outrageous! What's next? What's next? $775.
Yes.
Room and board. What else did you take out?
Me and his mother had a dispute on child support that I owed. We went to court about that. And, you know, in order to get a lawyer, I told him I was going to take some money out to pay for the lawyer. That was because of another situation that was going on.
What?
His grades in school, that I was trying to get custody back for him.
Yes.
To make him do better in school.
So?
And I had to get a lawyer in order to do that.
So? You wanted him to pay for the lawyer so that you could get custody of him?
No, I did not want him to pay for the lawyer.
Well, but he did. That's what you just told me. You took money out of his account so that you could pay for a lawyer to get custody of him. Isn't that what you just told me?
Yes, I did.
Well, am I correct? I mean, when you cut through all the baloney, that's what it was.
But I told him I was going to do this in order to file for custody for him.
Well,
and when I told him that, he had no problem with it.
What do you mean he had no problem with it?
He didn't disagree or agree.
Mr. Hubbard, what do you do for a living?
I'm an electrician, ma'am.
Well, let me give you the facts of life, Mr. Hubbard. The facts of life are parents support their children and provide for necessaries for their children until their children reach the age of majority. Then, if they're really lucky, the children will take care of themselves. Only if they're really lucky. Most parents take care of their children even after they've reached their majority. They pay for college, they pay for books, they pay for clothes, they pay for trips, they pay for medical, they pay for dental, they pay for orthodontia, they pay for cars, they pay for gas, they pay for dating. When they're 19 and 20 and 21 and 22, and sometimes even until they're 30. You, on the other hand, want your child to pay for himself, for his room and board, as well as for a lawyer for you. Hello? Michael, your father is misguided. You're entitled to your money back, Michael. Now, I assume at this point you and your father aren't getting along too well.
No.
And I assume that it will take some time for that to work itself out, if it ever does. Maybe he understands that he did the wrong thing. Maybe.
May I say something else, you
Yeah, sure.
I got custody of him on December 14th, 99. His grades were falling bad. When I finally got custody of him, I made him do his homework, and his grades came up. And then his mother 9 months later, filed for custody back of him because I was being too hard on him. I was making him do his homework. I was making him tell me where he was all this time, anytime he was out. Well, that's too hard on him as far as she's concerned. So she got custody back of him, and I have his report cards here showing that when he was with me, he was doing better, and now that he's with her, he's completely failing.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 18-year-old Michael Hubbard says his father, Ray Hubbard, stole money from his bank account. Ray says he needed the money.
Your job as a parent is to do what is best for your child, to look into...
That's what I was trying to do. I had his interest in heart all the time.
Fine. Let us say I absolutely agree that you felt as if he needed a stronger hand in order to do his work so that he could do well in school, so that he could move on. You felt as if you had to, as a parent, fight for custody so that he would do better. Is that fair? Is that a fair statement, sir?
No, sir. No, ma'am, that's not what I was doing.
I thought that's what you were doing.
Well, I am, but as far as his mother is concerned, she won't let him grow up.
It doesn't make any difference.
But it
Well, you're
don't
not listening to me, sir. I said you felt as if you had to do what you did in pursuing custody of him because you felt as if it was in his best interest.
Yes, I still do.
And you still do?
Yes.
Good. He doesn't pay for that. You pay for that. That's a necessary, not for him. That's a legal necessary for you. You as a parent are supposed to do the right thing. You felt in your heart the right thing was that he lived with you. You would be a better parent for him at this stage in his life. Good for you. You pay for it.
I understand that.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,527.51. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
A parent should be more responsible.
It was in the best interest of the child.
A minor shouldn't have to pay for room and board.
I'm going to keep fighting it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Link versus Booth. Step forward, please.
Business owner Joyce Link is suing her neighbor, carpenter John Booth, for damage to her vehicle. Joyce says a drunken John fell against her van.
Miss Link, the defendant is a neighbor of yours.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that he and a bunch of his drunken friends were coming home one evening and fell on your car or van, causing a dent in the van.
Yes.
Mr. Booth says it wasn't him.
Okay.
So tell me when this happened.
It was on a Saturday night, February 16th, 2002, around 12:31 a.m. in the morning. Me and my husband and children were in our house asleep, and we were awoken by some loud voices outside. So we got up, me and my husband, and looked out our bedroom window, and it was Mr. Booth and 4 of his friends. They were drunk, falling into our van and my next door neighbor's bushes. And we proceeded to go outside, me and my husband, and I asked them to please get off my vehicle. And the next thing I know, Mr. Booth is yelling about, you know, him and his friends.
No, what was he saying to you, Miss Link? I've heard everything.
He was yelling that we woke my effing neighbors up, and one of his friends had apologized for being on our vehicle. He told me that he was sorry, and Mr. Booth yelled, "Sorry, hell, I fell." I have pictures of my vehicle and my neighbor's bushes that happened that night.
Okay. Can I see?
On the matter, and no one would come to the door, so my husband had wrote a note and taped it to his front door. Then on Monday morning, I was on my way out, and Mr. Booth's wife had approached me.
What was the note? What did the note say?
That they needed to get in touch with us about the damages that was done to our van due to him and his friends being drunk that Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Booth's wife seen the damages, and she said that she would let her husband know and to get an estimate, and the damages would be taken care of.
Did Mr. Booth ever contact you?
Yes, that evening. Again, I was outside, and he approached me, and he apologized for what happened and told me that him and his friends don't remember anything. They were too drunk. Again, he did apologize, and he said to go get an estimate that he would take care of the damages. So I did go get an estimate, and I left it on their door because that's how we were notifying each other. So I did go get the estimate, and I left it taped to his front door.
Okay. Mr. Booth?
So far, everything's semi-right. Yeah, we did go out and get drunk. We got a little carried away. The wife was feeling sick, so we went up to the neighborhood bar so I wouldn't bother her. We were up there partying, got a little carried away, come on home. We were pretty intoxicated, okay, yeah. And when we passed her house, the guy that actually did the damage, him and his girlfriend were lagging behind me. I was already in my driveway when her car got damaged.
Were these people that you were out drinking with, were they men or women?
Both. We were all couples.
Well, not you weren't a couple. Your
No, I
wife
was in front.
Shh. Let me finish, sir. You weren't a couple. Your wife was sick.
Yes.
That means there were 5 of you.
Yes.
And where were these 2 couples going from the bar?
To my house.
What were they going to do in your house?
They're going to spend the night.
So they were invited guests of
Yes.
yours. And you escorted them to the bar?
Mm-hmm.
And then you all got drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were escorting your friends, invitees of yours, back to your home for the purposes of sleeping there.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Then I don't give a rat's behind who it was that fell on the van, sir. You're responsible.
Okay.
Okay! That's good. That's what you should have said 3 months ago. Mr. Booth, in the last few months, how much money have you sent them towards the repair of the car?
I don't feel like I sent anything.
What do you mean
I
you don't
didn't do the
feel like?
damage.
Didn't you just follow what I said? Didn't you just follow what I said?
Okay, I was escorting him back to the house. He fell into the van.
You were responsible for your guests. If your guests become rowdy, and as a result of their being rowdy, cause damage to the neighbor's property, they don't have to go around and hustle and find out the names and addresses of your guests.
I gave it to her.
You're responsible, and if you feel as if your friends are responsible, you go get the money from them.
I was trying.
I was trying. What do you do for a living?
I'm a carpenter.
Mm-hmm. The lowest estimate that you have, Ms. Link, is $519.66.
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff. If you have friends, you make sure your friends are well taken care of, sir. And if they cause damage, you are responsible. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 108 on the calendar in the matter of Gibbs versus Mbemba Sidon. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Who is Mr. Sidon?
Brian.
And what's your first name?
Brian.
And yours?
Mitch.
On your birth certificate.
Mitchell.
Mitchell, I'm not your friend.
Okay.
Mitchell. Now, Miss Gibbs, did you know Brian and Mitchell before this incident?
No, ma'am.
Stand up straight. According to your complaint, Miss Gibbs, you're sitting in your car, and these two idiots were having a fight.
Yes, ma'am.
And they ended up on the hood of your car, causing dents in the hood of your car. You want them to be responsible.
Yes. I was studying for a final.
Sitting in your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Brian and Mitchell say that A, there was no damage to your car, and B, if there was damage to your car, the other one did it.
Okay.
And then we have Brian, who is counterclaiming because he says that because you are vindictive in pursuing this matter, he will probably be expelled from school and wants you to pay for his semester's tuition. That's your counterclaim. Is that
Yes,
right,
ma'am.
Brian?
Yes, ma'am.
Please don't laugh. Please don't laugh at Brian. All right, Miss Gibbs. What was the date of the incident?
May 13, 2002.
What time?
It happened, I'd say, around 1:40.
In the afternoon?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did this happen?
This happened in Nassau Community College by B1 in the south parking lot.
Did you see this fight before it ended up on the hood of your car?
I saw it from beginning to end.
Tell me what you saw.
I saw Brian walking towards the school, and he was passing a green Chevy Malibu. And in the green Chevy Malibu, there were two girls and Mitchell. As he was passing, I guess somebody said something. He stopped, turned around, walked back towards the car, got into a confrontation with one of the girls through the passenger window. That's when I saw Mitchell exit the car. Brian began to argue with Mitchell. They got into each other's faces. Brian hit Mitchell, and they began fighting. That's when I saw Brian.
Would you just a second? Would you go over and have a brief word with him?
Sure.
Thank you.
What I need for you to do is I need for you to respect this court. So
Yes,
if you
sir.
would stand up straight.
Yes, sir.
And try to restrict your laughter.
Yes,
okay?
sir.
My man.
We're sorry to disturb you. You have your train of thought?
Yes.
Brian hit Mitchell.
Brian hit Mitchell. They continued fighting. Next thing I know, Mitchell's body is on my car. Brian is on top of Mitchell. I see him hit Mitchell a couple of times. Then Brian completely flees the scene. At that point...
Took off?
Yes. When he took off, I got out of my car, confronted Mitchell, told him, look at the damage that you've done to my car. I want this taken care of. That's when I got the phone number of one of the girls that was in the car with him in the green Malibu. So I can get in touch with him to get the money from my car.
Have pictures of your car?
Yes, I do. I have the police report. I have pictures of my car.
Let me see it all.
The whole time that this was happening, I was on the phone with my boyfriend from the United States Merchant Marine Academy.
Thank you. So it wasn't the hood of your car, it was really the side
It was
panel of
the side front panel of the driver's side, and there were some dents on the hood. And an object couldn't have done that, like me hitting something or something
No.
crashing into my car, because the paint is in perfect shape. There's no scratches or anything.
Okay. Now, Brian, I would like you to tell me, you're passing by this green car, and evidently you wanted to say something to one of the gals in the car. Tell me what you said to her.
Well, actually, what happened was somebody shouted something from the car. There was a laugh. There had been a lot of ridiculing by these people before. It was finals week, and I was going to walk away, but I was under so much pressure from my test. I said, I'm tired of putting up with this. I went back to the car.
What did they say?
They were laughing. Somebody shouted a profanity I'd rather not say. And
You could say it. I've heard everything.
Call me
Someone in the car?
Yeah.
Male or a female voice?
It sounded like a female voice. So I approached the car, and right away they started denying it, and we mixed words. Mitch got out of the car, and we...
When you say you mixed words, what did you say?
You know what? I can't remember word for word. I maybe, just yelled back and forth. Here's where the true story starts now. He got out of the car, Mitchell. We confronted Elias, my witness. He was involved too, although she never even remembers him being there, so I don't know which fight she was watching.
Which actually I don't.
Elias comes up, he tries to break us up. At the time, there was really going to be no confrontation. What happened was, Mitchell, I don't know, went to push me away a little bit, and I made contact with him. At that time, he turned around, he went to his car, he grabbed what was an ice cleaner, one of those brush stick ice cleaners, and he came at me to hit me. Elias tried to grab him to stop him. I tried to grab the stick. That's when we got into a scuffle, which lasted about 20 seconds, maybe 25 seconds. I never threw the first punch. I never ever put Mitch on top of the car. And after the thing, I did not flee the scene right away. We walked away, we calmed down. I left the school so there would be no further problems. I never even seen her there. I never saw a car get hit by anybody. I wasn't on a car. I surely didn't put him on a car. I didn't punch him first.
Now we'll hear from you.
Well, I was in the car, the girls, and we were laughing, just waiting for class to end, just hanging out in the car. And Brian had walked by. I don't know if they made a direct statement towards him, but he took it that way, came to the car, started telling the girls he's gonna strangle them, or just do it, being a bully. And he asked me if I had a problem. I said, no, I got no problem. So he told me to get out the car. I got out the car to try to tell him, relax, we don't need to fight. You're 25, I'm 20 years old, there's no need for this. And he headbutts me. So I fight back, and then as I'm fighting back, his friend comes in. They say they broke it up, but where I come from, if you get into a fight, one-on-one, and the other person's friend grabs me, I think, it's a two-on-one. Then I went back to the car, got a shovel, a scraper to defend myself, because he's a pretty big guy, little guy, got his friend with him. I'm with two girls. I struck him with it, I had to do what I had to do. And then we had a little scuffle, this and that. I don't know if we dented the girl's car or if it was done like that already, but she had confronted me saying this happened, and if it did happen, then I'll take care of it, but if not, then I don't really think we did that damage.
Now I'd like to hear about your counterclaim.
Yeah. Up to this point, I have no previous record. I have no arrest record. My academic record is stellar. Made the dean's list the past 2 years. I'm too old to be getting involved in frivolous encounters. She tells the dean, and her story has so many holes in it, it's hard for me to even sit there and listen to it. And now because of this, my records are impounded, so I can't transfer schools. The least I'm going to get is academic probation, which ruins my scholarship chances, which I have plenty of. And at most, I'm getting expelled. So I'm going to lose a half semester of my life for this, for a false statement, because I know absolutely 100% I did not dent her car.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't. You know one thing. When you were passing the green car and somebody called you a...
Yes, I know that
you should have kept walking.
I should have. But
right.
Your Honor.
That,
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
At the moment when these two were...
Look right here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know, Brian was just a little upset at these
Look at me.
And later today...
I said I will definitely honor our initial agreement. I don't in any way want to...
Stick you.
Right. She started to get really upset.
Well, just show me the rest of the payments that you made.
That's the only payment that I made.
Why?
That's
Why?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. College student Eloisa Gibbs says her car was damaged during a fight between schoolmates Brian Mbemba and Mitch Seiden. Brian and Mitch are blaming each other.
So you're dealing with a couple of girls, 19, 20-year-old, big mouths.
Yes.
Right? Who call you a name. You're not a are you?
Absolutely not.
All right. So that you knew it wasn't true when they called you that bad name.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So you keep on walking.
I understand.
You keep on walking. That you know for sure. Then we go back to the police report. Police interviewed witnesses who stated that Mitch Seiden was the person who exited the vehicle to fight, and that they did in fact fall on the complainant's vehicle.
Okay.
independent witness, not her. You had no vendetta against her. She doesn't even know who you are.
Absolutely. But
Why in the world?
I see this as an opportunity to make money off of something that was already there. Hey,
Oh,
look,
really?
fight, opportunity. Let's make these guys pay for my damage.
My boyfriend saw my car prior to me going to school and knows there was no damage
Miss
to my
Gibbs,
car.
Miss Gibbs, you need not answer him. Now, in all fairness to you, Brian, you have a witness here. I will hear the witness.
Thank you.
Who wants to stand up and be counted?
I'll stand up, Your Honor. At the moment when these two were,
Look right here.
oh, I'm sorry. When these two were all fighting, there was no force against any car. Nobody fell on any car. There was no need for her to explain the car dent. There was these people right here didn't cause.
Brian was walking by himself past the green car. Where did you come from?
I came back with him.
Just a minute. Brian is walking past the
Brian
green
walked
car.
past the car, and then I see him turn around and walk back to the car.
Yeah.
I tried to catch up to him to see what his problem was. When I went up to the car, and he was trying to ask the girls who were calling him a name or something, Mitch stepped out of the car and told Brian that it wasn't him. I don't know, Brian was just a little upset about the girls laughing at him or calling him a name. So
Look at me!
These two started to fight a little, but I didn't see them fall on any car nor cause a dent to any car at
Thank
all.
you very much for your participation.
You're welcome.
Brian, your counterclaim is dismissed. It's nonsense.
Okay,
And as
thank you.
far as the damage to the plaintiff's car, there isn't a question in my mind that the two of you caused the damage to the car. You should have kept on walking past the green car. And Mitch, you shouldn't have gotten out of the green car.
And I just try to calm him down.
You shouldn't have gotten out of the green car. Whatever the situation was, the two of you were responsible for her damage. So, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $870 to be shared by the two defendants, and the counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
If I dented the car, I must have been blacked out during the time because I can't recall it at all.
I believe that Judge Judy made the right decision.
Whatever happened, happened. Whatever the way the case went. Everything works out the way it does.
If you know you didn't do anything wrong, make sure you got it right.
Stay in your house, lock your doors, and don't go outside so you don't get sued.